Chapter 101. Giving Master a Little Shock. Brother, you're back. As soon as Lu Qing arrived at Half Mountain's small courtyard, he saw a little figure running out from inside and throwing herself into his arms. He gently caught the little one and picked her up. Seeing the joy on little Yan's face made Lu Qing breathe a sigh of relief. Good, the little one hadn't fussed. Yes, I'm back. Did little Yan behave at home? Lu Qing, holding his sister, asked indulgently. Of course I behaved. This time, even though brother didn't come home at night, little Yan didn't cry. The little one boasted. Little Yan is so incredible. Lu Qing praised her generously. The little one hadn't fussed, which was quite unexpected for him. Because Grandpa Chan said that brother is now very powerful and won't be in any danger, knowing brother would come back, so little Yan didn't cry. The little one said earnestly. Yes, brother is very powerful now. Lu Qing rubbed the little one's head. Back now. But why did this trip to the mountain take so long? At that moment, old Dr. Chun also came out from the yard. Master. Lu Qing put down little Yan, his expression becoming more serious. There were some unexpected circumstances that might have worried you. Worried, not really. Gathering herbs in the mountains is never easy, and it's normal not to come back on time. Old Dr. Chun waved his hand. Old Dr. Chun often went into the mountains to gather herbs and naturally knew what the situations could be like in the mountains. Sometimes the world outside was sunny, but upon entering the mountains, a sudden mountain rain could occur. And then there were the mountain mists that might envelop at any time. A slight miscalculation and getting stuck inside for several days was normal. If it weren't for Lu Qing having achieved small success in the perfect blood chi realm and having little Li, a peculiar spiritual beast with him, old Dr. Chun might not have agreed to him going into the mountains alone. By the way, where is that dark little beast of yours? Why didn't it come back with you? Old Dr. Chun asked curiously. These days, old Dr. Chun had seen little Li, and it seemed to feel the innate kindness from old Dr. Chun, so little Li was not averse to him. Right, brother. Where is little Li? Has it come home? Little Yan also asked. Roar. Before Lu Qing could answer, at that moment, a roar sounded, immediately capturing little Yan's attention. It's little Li. The little one played with little Li every day, and they even slept together. How could she not recognize its voice? Hearing this sound, she immediately started looking around. Little Li, where are you? But no matter how she looked, she couldn't see little Li anywhere, which puzzled little Yan's little mind. The sound had been right beside her, so how could she not see it? Where was little Li hiding? On the contrary, old Dr. Chun was now looking at Lu Qing with a hint of amazed uncertainty. He had heard the sound coming from Lu Qing's direction, but he also hadn't seen little Li. It didn't seem like Lu Qing could have hidden a dark little beast on him. Could it be hidden in the medicine basket? Old Dr. Chun involuntarily glanced towards the medicine basket on Lu Qing's back. Little Li, stop messing around. Come out. Seeing that both his master and little Yan were puzzled, Lu Qing laughed, patting his shoulder. Then, under the watchful eyes of old Dr. Chun and little Yan, little Li cancelled its invisibility effect. Seeing little Li suddenly appear on Lu Qing's shoulder with a triumphant look, both old Dr. Chun and little Yan were quite astonished. Especially little Yan, her mouth and eyes went wide in shock. Seeing this, little Li became even more proud, its tail sticking up high. Ah Qing, is this? Elder Doctor was extremely surprised. He could confirm that just a moment ago, he truly hadn't noticed that little Li was sitting on Lu Qing's shoulder, close at hand. How did he not realize it? How did little Li's hiding skills become so impressive? This little creature has had some strange encounters on its trip to the mountains and awakened a very impressive talent. It's showing off to you all, Lu Qing said with a smile. In a flash, little Li jumped in front of little Yan, looking very proud, as if waiting for her praise. Little Yan did not disappoint it, immediately lifting it up, her face full of disbelief. Little Li, you're amazing. How did you do it? Ow! Little Li, being praised, became even happier. It jumped out of little Yan's arms and ran circles around her, darting through the air like magic. making little Yen exclaim in surprise again and again. Elder Doctor watched little Li's movements as if it were traversing through space, and couldn't help but feel somewhat astonished. Even though he was not skilled in combat, he could see just how terrifying the ability that little Li demonstrated was. Ah Ching, what did you encounter in the mountains to cause such a big change in little Li? Elder Doctor couldn't help but ask. Let's go inside and discuss it, Master. Lu Qing tightened the medicine basket on his back. In the yard, little Li and little Yen were playing a game of hide and seek. Lu Qing and his master entered the house. Master, I and little Li gained quite a lot on this mountain trip, starting with these herbs. Lu Qing put down the medicine basket from his back and took out the herbs one by one. Stargrass, Angelica, Tianqi, ginseng. Wait, this ginseng? Elder Doctor looked at the herbs Lu Qing was taking out. Each one was a surprise. Not to mention the quality of the herbs, which were exceptionally good, but that Tianqi was enough to astonish him. When did the mountain range behind Jili village start producing Tianqi? When he saw the ginseng Lu Qing took out, Elder Doctor almost jumped up. The ginseng was fully formed, almost completely humanoid. According to his experience, ginseng with such appearance must be at least 400 to 500 years old, truly a treasure ginseng. Extremely rare and priceless. And it didn't stop there. After taking out that treasure ginseng, Lu Qing kept pulling out more herbs from the basket. And they were all ginseng, each one at least a century old, and even 2 or 3 of them were more than that. Master, these are the herbs I gathered from the mountain. As he took out the last ginseng and placed it on the ground, Lu Qing said, Just these. Elder Doctor looked at the row of century-old ginseng on the ground, somewhat speechless as he looked at his disciple. You found all these ginseng on a single trip to the mountains. While I've been gathering herbs my whole life and have rarely come across a few, did you find a ginseng nest or what? Pretty much, Lu Qing smiled. The place literally took me to had a lot of ginseng. I only dug up the ones that were old enough. You really found a ginseng nest? Elder Doctor marveled. Little Li really is incredible to find such a treasure trove. He finally understood why Lu Qing had delayed so long in the mountains. With so many precious herbs, he himself would have been reluctant to leave the mountains so quickly. Being a doctor, seeing good herbs almost made it impossible to move. Master, I would like your help to refine these ginseng into blood and qi nourishing pills. All of these ginseng into blood and qi nourishing pills? Elder Doctor was puzzled. You are already at a small success in the qi blood realm. A few more century-old ginsengs should be enough to advance you to the perfection of the qi blood realm. Why do you need so many pills? This is another curious encounter I had on the mountain. Lu Qing pulled out a small jade bottle from his robe. Master, during this trip to the mountains, I found a magical spiritual liquid in a cave. Chapter 102, Repaying the Master's Kindness. Master, during my journey to the mountains, I accidentally discovered a mysterious cave where I found a spiritual liquid. Little Li's unique invisibility talent awakened after consuming this spiritual liquid. I also consumed a few drops and reaped considerable benefits. Lu Qing said, holding a jade bottle in his hand. Oh, what kind of spiritual liquid is so miraculous? The Elder Doctor's curiosity was instantly piqued. According to the records in that strange cave, it's a treasure liquid known as Earth Vein Spirit Liquid, Lu Qing replied. However, to his surprise, the master, upon hearing this, stood up in shock. What? Earth Vein Spirit Liquid? Master, are you aware of Earth Vein Spirit Liquid? Seeing the master so astonished, Lu Qing was very surprised. He hadn't expected him to know about it. I didn't know originally, but I only recently learned that such a spiritual liquid exists in this world. The Elder Doctor calmed his emotions and sat down again. Some days ago, didn't I receive a copy of the Green Bag Medical Scripture from the Wei family? In this work by the medical saint, some extremely magical spiritual medicines are recorded, and this Earth Vein Spirit Liquid is among them. In the Green Bag Medical Scripture, the Earth Vein Spirit Liquid is highly esteemed. It claims it can revive the dead, regrow flesh on bones, and prolong life. making it far more miraculous than any medicine stone. However, the method to produce this mysterious spiritual liquid is said to have been lost long ago. You actually managed to find it? The elder doctor looked at Lu Qing with great surprise. It was just luck. Little Li was the one who discovered the place, Lu Qing said with a smile. Yet, the green bag medical scripture does not record everything. The earth vein spirit liquid not only revives the dead and regrows flesh on bones, but also prolongs life and enhances the potential and talent of living creatures. Little Li's potential was stimulated after consuming this spiritual liquid, which is how the invisibility talent awakened. I also consumed a few drops of the earth vein spirit liquid, and it significantly enhanced my talent, which is why I need more resources to reach Qi blood perfection in my cultivation, and that's why I wanted Master to refine more blood-enhancing Qi pills for me. So it is, the elder doctor exclaimed in amazement, looking at his disciple. You seem to know quite a lot about the effects of the earth vein spirit liquid. It seems it's not just a simple acquisition of the liquid, right? Indeed, I was also fortunate enough to receive some heritage, which included information about the earth vein spirit liquid. Lu Qing did not deny. You truly have profound fortune to find such spiritual objects. The elder doctor nodded, yet he did not inquire about what heritage Lu Qing had received. He understood his disciple well. If it were something that could be revealed, he certainly wouldn't hide it from him. Now, not mentioning it meant there must be some concerns. Mostly, it's all thanks to Little Li's remarkable abilities. Lu Qing didn't take the credit. If it weren't for Little Li leading me there, I would have never discovered that wondrous place. Little Li truly is a creature of spirit. You chose to feed it fish instead of driving it away back then. That indeed formed a profound bond of goodwill, the elder doctor said with relief. I initially wasn't intending to form a bond of goodwill, but was simply too scared to provoke Little Li. Lu Qing silently retorted in his mind. He shook the small jade bottle in his hand. Master, this earth vein spirit liquid can not only revive the dead and regrow flesh, but it can also prolong life. Therefore, I'd like to offer it to Master, as a way to repay the kindness of your teachings. The elder doctor looked at the jade bottle in Lu Qing's hand. To say that he wasn't moved was impossible. No one could remain indifferent in the face of a spiritual medicine that could increase lifespan. Even someone as detached as him wished to live a little longer. This precious spiritual liquid, being used by an old man like me, seems rather wasteful. You should keep it for your own use. The elder doctor pondered for a while before slowly speaking. Lu Qing was stunned for a moment, and seeing his master's serious expression, he understood that his master wanted to leave all the precious earth vein spiritual liquid for his disciple. Moved, Lu Qing nonetheless smiled and said, Master, you need not worry. This earth vein spiritual liquid, I have obtained quite a bit of it. Besides what's in the jade bottle, I still have some left over. Moreover, the earth vein spiritual liquid has its limits in improving talent. Each living creature can only consume up to 5 drops. Any more than that, and it can only be used for healing purposes, without further improving talent. So, Master, please take these 5 drops from the jade bottle without worry. It won't affect me at all. Is that really true? The elder doctor asked somewhat skeptically. In his view, treasure liquids like the earth vein spiritual liquid must be extremely scarce. It didn't make sense for there to be so much available all at once. Lu Qing replied earnestly, How could I dare deceive you, Master? This earth vein spiritual liquid isn't concocted from medicine stones, but can only be nurtured in a mysterious stone cave, and it takes 20 years to nurture a single drop. That mysterious stone cave has been unvisited for hundreds of years, so it has accumulated quite a bit of the spiritual liquid, all of which I have taken. Seeing that Lu Qing didn't seem to be lying, the elder doctor finally took the jade bottle. Then I, this old man, will shamelessly accept it. Seeing that his master had finally accepted the spiritual liquid, Lu Qing breathed a sigh of relief. He smiled and said, Master, please consume this spiritual liquid quickly. The earth vein spiritual liquid can extend life by up to 50 years, and also restore one's physical state to its peak. It's truly miraculous. No hurry. Let me study this spiritual liquid first. The elder doctor was not eager to consume the spiritual liquid, but couldn't resist studying it. Lu Qing understood this. As a doctor, his master was extremely passionate about medical skills. Naturally, he was curious about a spiritual object like the earth vein spiritual liquid. However, his expectations were doomed to be unfulfilled. The earth vein spiritual liquid was not derived from medicine stones but was formed from the purest essence of earth veins. This involved techniques pioneered by the mysterious entity who created the Jade Cave, and it was beyond their ability as postnatal realm martial artists to fathom. Indeed, after studying it for a while, the elder doctor couldn't make head or tail of it. This earth vein spiritual liquid was unlike any medicine liquid he knew. He just couldn't discern its secrets. It's truly a spiritual medicine highly esteemed by even the medical saint, indeed miraculous. In the end, the elder doctor could only sigh and give up his research. Then, Master, Lu Qing began. You, my boy, you won't rest until you see me consume this spiritual liquid, will you? The elder doctor chuckled. Are you worried I might keep it without using it? All right, I'll begin my closed-door meditation now. With that, the elder doctor entered the quiet room to seclude himself. As for Lu Qing, it was naturally his duty to protect his master to ensure he wasn't disturbed, as the half-mountain small courtyard often had villagers coming to see the doctor. However, today all was silent. No one came seeking medical help at the half-mountain small courtyard, which saved Lu Qing quite some hassle. Half a day later, he heard the door of the quiet room open. Turning around, he saw his master stepping out, his face imbued with a touch of blankness. Chapter 103 Innate Realm Master Cultivation Plan. Master, what happened? Lu Qing saw his master looking much younger at first glance. The skin had tightened significantly, and the originally gray hair had turned much blacker. However, the master seemed somewhat at a loss with his changes, his face full of bewilderment. I seem to have made a breakthrough, the elder doctor said, looking confused. A breakthrough? Lu Qing was initially stunned, then overjoyed. Master, are you saying you've reached inner organs perfection? Lu Qing remembered that his master's previous martial arts realm was at the great success of the internal organs realm, just a step away from the inner organs perfect realm of the martial arts grandmaster. Now, with the breakthrough, he must have reached postnatal realm perfection. However, the elder doctor still looked somewhat bewildered. It seems like inner organs perfection, but also not quite. Lu Qing's expression shifted. He silently activated his superpower to observe his master. Soon, a strong red light surfaced around his master. Several pieces of information appeared. Chun Songqing, skilled in medical arts, kind-hearted, respected, a decent elder doctor. Cultivation, Qi acupoint loosened, divine soul not yet formed, half-step innate. Spent a lifetime in medicine, saved countless lives, possesses merit, deep fortune. Half-step innate? Was there such a realm? Lu Qing was first stunned, then looked at the words with deep thought. Qi acupoint loosened, divine soul not yet formed? Master, how do you feel now? After some thought, Lu Qing asked. I can vaguely sense that I'm touching upon a new realm, but I don't know how to push open that door, the elder doctor said, troubled. He naturally knew what the realm he sensed was. It was the innate realm he had longed for, the supreme realm that countless martial arts practitioners dream of. Yet, despite the realm of many dreams being right before him, he didn't know how to take that step, which was quite frustrating. Lu Qing pondered. He understood the state his master was in now. According to the inheritance left by Li Weitian, to enter the innate realm, one must first forge divine soul power. With divine soul power, break through the Qi acupoint, induct the heaven and earth primordial Qi into the body, refine the first wisp of innate true Qi in Dantian to officially ascend to the innate realm. His master's Qi acupoint was about to open, but since the divine soul power had not yet formed, he couldn't induce the energy into the body. Master, even you don't know how to break through to the innate realm? Lu Qing asked. I only know that a martial artist at the peak of the postnatal realm, wanting to break through to the innate realm, must have an innate technique as a guide to stand a chance to break through that barrier and ascend to that mysterious realm. But I have never had the chance to see what this innate technique looks like. Besides, such secret techniques, involving the mysteries of the innate, are not something anyone would easily reveal. Even in major sects or families that have produced innate realm experts, only the most core, most outstanding disciples and heirs get the chance to come into contact. You see, I am just a traveling doctor. How could I be fortunate enough to witness such a mysterious technique? The elder doctor's voice was full of regret. He had never expected in his life that he would touch the innate realm. He hadn't even dared to hope for postnatal perfection. After all, he was very old, his spirit no longer at its peak. Managing to maintain the great success of the internal realm was already difficult, let alone progressing further. Yet, unexpectedly, he had gotten a chance through his disciple's opportunity to consume vital spirit liquid and such spiritual objects. This allowed his stagnant martial arts realm to leap forward suddenly, sensing the barrier between the postnatal and innate. Unfortunately, the chance to ascend was right before him, but he didn't have the key to open that door. Despite the elder doctor's detachment, he couldn't help but feel regret at this moment. Lu Qing, seeing the regret on his master's face, only slightly smiled. "Master, you don't need to be disheartened. Although we do not have the heritage of the major sects and noble families, acquiring an innate technique is not as difficult as it seems." What did you say?" The elder doctor was startled and looked at Lu Qing. "Didn't I mention before? In that miraculous stone cave, I acquired some inheritance which happens to include an innate technique." "Qing, are you serious?" the elder doctor asked dazedly. "Of course I am. I will transcribe that innate technique for you right now." Lu Qing stood up and went over to the medicine cabinet. Since sometimes he needed to prescribe for others, the elder doctor had stored pen, ink, paper, and inkstone there. Lu Qing took them out, added water to the inkstone, laid out the paper, and began to write vigorously. After practicing for some time and further controlling his physical strength, Lu Qing's calligraphy had significantly improved. Even though he wrote quickly, the handwriting was not messy. Soon, he had transcribed the innate technique left by Li Weitian. "Master, the key to ascending from the postnatal realm to the innate realm is to refine your own divine soul power. Then with this divine soul power, break through the Qi acupoint, sense the heaven and earth primordial Qi, induct the energy into the body, and refine the first wisp of innate true Qi in Dantian." The so-called innate technique is actually a secret technique that can refine the divine soul power. The inheritance I was fortunate enough to acquire contains such a technique. I was thinking of giving you a surprise after you had broken through to the perfection of the internal organs realm, but I didn't expect this day to come so soon. Chapter 104. This essence refining God method, I now offer to master. Lu Qing handed over the innate technique he had copied to his master. The elder doctor received it blankly and began to read it slowly. Then, the more he read, the brighter his eyes became. Although the elder doctor did not like to fight with people, that was only because he did not like to hurt others and hardly cultivated martial arts fighting skills. In fact, his martial arts talent was also extremely high. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to deduce the nourishing body boxing, a cultivation technique of the inner organs realm, from a mere incomplete nameless skill and reach the great success of the realm. Additionally, having practiced medicine for most of his life and having a profound understanding of the human body's meridians and acupoints made the elder doctor extraordinarily insightful in the art of nourishing the body. Therefore, he recognized at a glance just how mysterious the innate technique written by Lu Qing was. The detailed description within it on how to circulate one's own essence and refine the divine soul power was beyond anything he had ever imagined. For a while, the elder doctor was completely mesmerized by the text. After he finished reading, the elder doctor read it over 2 more times before finally taking a deep breath. He exclaimed, "Truly worthy of being an innate technique. It is inconceivable and astonishing. I never imagined there could be such a delicate connection between the body's essence and the divine soul. Master, how is it? Is this innate technique helpful to you?" Lu Qing asked. Not only is it helpful, it is enlightening. I always thought that I had achieved some success on the path of medical practice. Only today, having seen this innate secret technique, do I realize that the mysteries of the human body are vast like a sea of smoke, profound and wonderful. My previous medical knowledge was nothing but a frog's view from the bottom of a well, truly pitifully shallow. The elder doctor sincerely sighed, but was very delighted as well. From this innate technique, he gained not only a method to refine his divine soul but also various insights into the relationship between the body's essence and the divine soul. This was absolutely a great supplement to his medical skills. Indeed, the latter made him even happier. As a doctor, the elder doctor had a deep love for medical practice emanating from his very bones. Any improvement in medical skill made him joyful. Then, Master, with the assistance of this innate technique, how long will it take for you to advance to the innate realm? Lu Qing continued to ask. That's hard to say. I just thought it over. Following the secret methods in this innate technique, if I smoothly refine my own divine soul power, it might take up to a year or as soon as 6 months. Does it need to take that long? Lu Qing was somewhat surprised. You child, you really do not know the hardships of cultivation. You go ask around any martial arts grandmaster at the inner organs perfection who can confidently say they can refine their own divine soul and step into the innate realm within a year or half a year would be ecstatic. Do you know how many grandmasters with inner organs perfection in this world never even touch that barrier of the innate realm in their lifetime? After all, I am old. If not for the drops of earth vein spirit liquid you gave me, even if I encountered that barrier and obtained the innate technique, it would take 3 to 5 years to refine the divine soul power without them. And you still consider it slow? The elder doctor was somewhat helpless. This disciple of his had too good a martial arts talent. His cultivation came without any difficulties and had been smooth sailing. As a result, he hadn't truly experienced the hardships of the martial arts path. Having the martial arts path being too smooth may or may not be a good thing for him. I was foolish, Lu Qing admitted sheepishly, mainly because he saw from his superpowers information that his master was currently at the half-step innate stage. He thought that once his master got hold of the innate technique, he would quickly refine his divine soul power and advance to the innate realm. Imagining that, he thought it would be wonderful to have a backer in the innate realm. He hadn't expected it to be too good to be true. You! The elder doctor did not know what else to say and could only shake his head. Master, once you officially advance to the innate realm, I have another cultivation technique for you, as a congratulatory gift on your breakthrough, Lu Qing said. Qing, what legacy have you really obtained to possess so many innate techniques and to remember them so vividly? Now, even the elder doctor couldn't hold back his curiosity and inquired. And furthermore, he was astonished by the scene where Lu Qing had recited the innate technique from memory. Although after spending so long together, he knew that Lu Qing had an excellent memory, possessing an ability that was almost photographic. But the essence refining God method was extraordinarily mysterious. Every word mattered, and a single mistake could lead to dire consequences. Lu Qing wrote it out so confidently, clearly believing that what he wrote was devoid of any errors. Now he even said that he would give him another innate method in the future. How long had Lu Qing been in the mountains, and how could he remember so many innate methods? The inheritance I obtained in that cave wasn't recorded on paper or bamboo slips. Lu Qing had already thought of an explanation for his master's doubts. Instead, it was a mysterious expert who used divine soul engraving to imprint the inheritance directly into my mind. I couldn't forget it, even if I wanted to. So, Master, you don't need to worry. Divine soul engraving? There are such miraculous methods in the world. The elder doctor exclaimed upon hearing this. However, he then quickly remembered that the person who could even create rare treasure liquid undoubtedly had divine skills far beyond what he, a mere postnatal realm individual, could fathom. So, Master, in the days to come, just concentrate on your cultivation without worrying about the subsequent techniques, Lu Qing said. Wouldn't it be improper for you to pass on the technique to me? The elder doctor voiced his concern. He knew that many major sects treated their inheritances with utmost importance. The inheritance Lu Qing received must also be from some mysterious sect. Privately transmitting a technique was considered a grave sin in any sect. Don't worry, master, the senior who passed the technique to me has long been gone, and he never mentioned in his will that the techniques could not be passed on. All decisions are up to me, Lu Qing reassured. Li Weitian had been dead for 700 or 800 years. His remains had even turned to skeleton. It was already quite fortunate that the technique was being passed on. It wasn't his place to pick and choose. The elder doctor was finally reassured. His face beaming. I never thought this old man could bask in the light of his disciple and glimpse the innate realm, which countless martial arts experts dream of. The affairs of this world are indeed very unpredictable. Looking at Lu Qing, the elder doctor was filled with emotions. He could never have imagined that accepting a disciple on a whim would bring him such a great opportunity. It gave this old man, who was nearing the end of his life, not only an extension of several decades but possibly even advancement to the innate realm. The elder doctor almost doubted whether he was dreaming right now. Seeing his master so happy, Lu Qing was also very pleased. Once his master broke through, he would have the support of an innate realm expert. Even if his master wasn't skilled in fighting, the innate realm was still the innate realm. Even the weakest innate realm was not something a postnatal realm could challenge. Later, he would pass on a more powerful technique to his master, so that even among those in the innate realm, his master would be a strong presence. After all, that was a technique left by Li Weitian. A technique passed down by a perfect innate realm expert who was dazzling and dominated an era. Any innate realm who obtained it would surely rise to the upper echelons of the innate realm. With such a powerful master, wouldn't he be able to do as he pleased in Song County in the future? Groups like the Black Wolf Gang would really be nothing more than chickens and dogs. Even the Wei family would probably hesitate to provoke an innate realm expert. Thinking of this, Lu Qing got excited. Is this considered a kind of alternative nurturing? Lu Qing suddenly thought with a bit of wicked humor. Most people nurture little kids, little animals, and such. Yet, he was nurturing his own master into an innate realm expert. The difference really was somewhat significant. Chapter 105 Ice Skin Jade Bone. Am I the only trash? Brother, what is this? In the evening at the Lu family, after dinner, little Yen looked at the jade bottle Lu Qing had taken out and curiously asked. Good stuff, dessert after dinner, for you to eat. Lu Qing smiled. Sweet. The little one's eyes lit up instantly. She liked eating sweet things. Yeah, it's a bit sweet, try it. Little Yen obediently opened her mouth, and Lu Qing dropped a drop of earth vein spirit liquid into it. It really is sweet. Little Yen smacked her lips happily. Then she looked longingly at Lu Qing. Brother, is that all? This can't be eaten in excess. Since you like sweets, I'll make you some snacks tomorrow. Little Yen was still young, and the energy of the earth vein spirit liquid was extraordinary. Although its medicinal power was gentle, Lu Qing still did not dare to give her too much at once. He would start with one drop to see the effects. If she could digest more, then he would give her more when the time was right. Then, brother, you promised? Little Yen said, immediately becoming happy when she heard this. After taking a drop of earth vein spirit liquid, little Yen quickly became sleepy. Not long after, her eyelids grew heavy, and she slowly fell asleep next to her brother. Lu Qing carried her to her small bed and covered her with a blanket. Little Li also hopped up on the bed, lying down in its bamboo-woven nest at the head of the bed, silently guarding the little two-legged creature. After tucking little Yen in with a thin blanket, feeling her steady breathing, Lu Qing was relieved and left the room. He went to the courtyard and sat down in his favorite lounge chair. Now, nearing dusk, Lu Qing watched the setting sun with a sense of contentment. Although his trip to the mountains brought great gains and chances that others wouldn't even dare dream of, inside the mountains he still had to keep his spirits comparatively high. After all, there were many poisonous insects and snakes in the mountains. If he relaxed too much, he might encounter severe misfortune. Back at home, he finally let himself relax completely. Watching the sunset, his mind went blank for a while, and then, uncontrollably, he started pondering again. His master was now helping him refine blood-enhancing qi-benefiting pills. Initially, he wanted to help to practice the art of pill-making. However, his master had just broken through, full of vibrant energy, and finding him in the way, promptly kicked him out of the medicine room, claiming that refining the blood-enhancing qi-benefiting pills was something he could do alone without help. Moreover, it was too wasteful to practice pill-making with century-old ginseng, which he couldn't stand to see Lu Qing squander. Lu Qing didn't insist. After all, he knew how to make the blood-enhancing qi-benefiting pills and could practice making them later. After his master finished refining the pills, he could then devote himself entirely to cultivation. By then, his strength would enter a phase of rapid progress. Now, he only needed to wait patiently for 2 or 3 days. Besides martial arts cultivation, he couldn't neglect the training in the rune path. Although runes were weak in the early stages, once he truly mastered them, he could wield various profound powers, something unmatched by martial arts. How could Lu Qing give up such a fantastic power? Thinking this, Lu Qing took out a silver coin from his pocket, activated his superpower, and entered a state of meditation to slowly observe. Earlier, in the Jade Cave, he had already had some insights, which were then interrupted by little Li's awakening. Now he could continue to reflect. The sky slowly grew dark, and as Lu Qing entered a state of reflection, he was oblivious to time's passage. Not until the moon was high in the branches and the stars were bright did he suddenly snap back to reality. Looking around and then up at the sky, he felt bewildered. It's already this late. When you get absorbed in the study of runes, it's so easy to lose track of time. Similarly, in the Jade Cave before, it seemed to him like only a few hours had passed at most, but in reality, it had been more than a day and night. But the time spent is worth it. Lu Qing looked at the silver in his hand and smiled. He had gained some understanding of the patterns on the coin. He believed that, after a few more sessions of reflection, he could fully comprehend them. Of course, just understanding the patterns on a coin didn't mean he had mastered the rune path. If the rune path were that simple, it wouldn't have disappeared, leaving only the Jade Cave behind. It was a profound and mysterious tradition, and for Lu Qing to truly master it, there was still a long way to go. Putting away the silver, Lu Qing stood up and noticed a layer of moisture on his body. It turned out that the night air had dampened his clothes. Luckily, being a Qi Blood Realm martial artist, he had a robust physique. If he had been a bit weaker, sitting in the courtyard for half the night could have resulted in a cold. Shaking his head, Lu Qing circulated his Qi blood, quickly raising his body temperature to dry off the dampness before going back inside to rest. The next morning, Lu Qing got up, practiced some punches, and then went to prepare breakfast. Just as he finished, he heard the sounds of little Yen playing with little Li in the room. He entered the room and saw the 2 little ones rolling around on the bed together. "Brother," little Yen called out when she saw Lu Qing come in. "Awake? How do you feel after sleeping the whole night?" "Brother." Little Yen seems to have become whiter. The little one stretched out her arm, rolled up her sleeve, and showed her plump little arm to Lu Qing. The arm, originally somewhat dark, was now like white lotus root, tender and lovely. In fact, Lu Qing had already noticed that little Yen had undergone many changes without her having to show him. Chapter 106. The family's meals had been good lately, and under his care, little Yan's body had improved significantly compared to when he first crossed over to this world. Not only had she gained some weight, but her originally dry and yellowish hair had also improved a lot. Nevertheless, although her hair had improved, it was still somewhat yellowish as the treatment had been short. Because she played outside every day, her skin had also become a bit tanned. Now, not only was her hair black and shiny, her skin had also become fair and tender. She had become even cuter and more likable. Yep, not only has your skin become fairer, your hair has become darker too? Lu Qing nodded. Really? Little Yan's hair has turned black. The little one's eyes lit up. Ever since her friends had commented negatively on her hair, little Yen had been very self-conscious about it. Hearing her brother say her hair had turned black made her suddenly very concerned. Of course, it's true. You can see for yourself when you wash up and look in the mirror in the morning. Lu Qing nodded. Upon hearing this, little Yen hurriedly climbed out of her small bed. Brother, I'm going to brush my teeth and wash my face. She ran to the yard, looked at her reflection in the water of the wash basin for a while, and then shouted with joy, Brother, little Yan's hair really has turned black. I told you before, as long as you eat your meals and sleep well, your hair will become beautiful very soon, Lu Qing said with a smile. At the same time, he activated his superpower to quietly check the little one's information. Soon, a faint red glow appeared from little Yan's body. Lu Xiaoyan, a human female child. Lucky one. After consuming Earth Vein spiritual liquid, she seems to have accidentally awakened a special talent. Ice Skin Jade Bone, not fully activated with a pure physique, free of filth, crystal clear and unblemished. She's a natural seed for cultivation, with her cultivation of water-cold attribute techniques yielding twice the result with half the effort. Seeing the information that appeared on little Yen, Lu Qing was astonished. Not only because of the red glow of superpower that was at the same level as little Li, but also because of the description that followed. Stimulated by the power of the Earth Vein spiritual liquid, little Yen had actually awakened a talent called Ice Skin Jade Bone. And this talent, going by the description, seemed quite powerful. She was a true cultivation prodigy. Except, not fully activated? Lu Qing read the words on the third line and pondered. Was it not fully activated because she had only taken a single drop of Earth Vein spiritual liquid? He believed that was likely the reason. Little Li's invisibility talent was fully awakened only after consuming 5 drops of Earth Vein spiritual liquid. Having consumed just 1 drop, little Yen certainly wasn't enough. To completely activate this Ice Skin Jade Bone talent, it seemed he would need to spend a few more drops of spiritual liquid. But well, Earth Vein spiritual liquid was nothing he was short on. In the Jade Cave, Lu Qing had obtained nearly 40 drops of Earth Vein spiritual liquid in total. He had used 3 drops, given 5 each to little Li and his master, and used another drop on little Yen last night, totaling 14 drops spent. He still had over 20 drops of Earth Vein spiritual liquid remaining. Even if he gave 4 more drops to little Yen, he would still have about 20 drops left. Of these remaining 20 drops of Earth Vein spiritual liquid, he needed to reserve 10 for cultivating the secret technique of the Divine Talisman sect that pre-refined the Divine Soul. That left him at least 10 drops for emergency needs. So Lu Qing wasn't worried at all about running out of Earth Vein spiritual liquid. On the contrary, seeing that little Yen had accidentally activated such a special cultivation talent, Lu Qing was delighted, but also somewhat speechless. After consuming the Earth Vein spiritual liquid, both little Li and little Yen had awakened talents, and his master had improved his cultivation, on the verge of breaking through to the innate realm. Only he hadn't received any special benefits, aside from a slight increase in potential. Turned out that, in the end, everyone had exceptional talents and he was the only one lacking? Lu Qing felt somewhat conflicted. Over the following 2 days, Lu Qing continued to feed little Yen a few more drops of Earth Vein spiritual liquid. Finally, after taking the 5th drop and waking up, he used his superpower to check little Yan's information again. A rich red glow emerged from little Yan's body. Ice Skin Jade Bone, with a pure physique, free of filth, crystal clear and unblemished. She's a natural seed for cultivation, with her cultivation of water-cold attribute techniques yielding twice the result with half the effort. Seeing the words "not fully activated" had disappeared from the information, Lu Qing breathed a sigh of relief. As expected, just as he thought, little Yan's talent required the same 5 drops of Earth Vein spiritual liquid to be fully activated. Brother, what's wrong? Little Yen, having just freshened up and waiting for Lu Qing to tie her hair, saw her brother staring blankly at her and found it odd. It's nothing. Your brother is just thinking about something. Lu Qing swiftly and skillfully tied little Yan's hair into 2 little buns. After tying them, he looked her over and was extremely satisfied. With her shiny black hair, tender white cheeks, and large eyes, little Yen, who was already very cute, became even more like a porcelain doll after consuming Earth Vein spiritual liquid. extremely cherishable. According to what the little one said, these past few days when she went out to play and met Grandpa Zhang and the others, she was always showered with compliments and received many little snacks and toys, making her very happy. That's enough. Let's go have breakfast. Inside the house, the siblings faced each other eating their meat porridge, while little Lee enjoyed its fresh fish on the side. It had to be said, Black Knight spiritual foxes really loved fish. Even if little Lee ate fish 3 times a day, it would never tire of it. While sipping on the porridge, Lu Qing thought about something else. Now that little Yen had awakened such a special cultivation talent, some of his plans would need to change. Originally, in Lu Qing's heart, he just wished for little Yen to live a safe and peaceful life, without forcing her to achieve anything extraordinary. Chapter 107. But now, since little Yen had awakened such a great talent, it would be a real shame not to make use of it. In this world where martial artists are revered, possessing the power of martial arts is something countless people dream of. It's just that the vast majority of people don't have that privilege. Since little Yen had such talent, he should be even more supportive. Therefore, in the days to come, he would start to slowly teach little Yen some knowledge about cultivation. However, according to the information displayed by Superpower, the most suitable cultivation techniques for little Yen were those with water and cold attributes. Ironically, Lu Qing had none of these. The inheritance left by Li Weitian was all innate realm cultivation techniques, none of which were of water or cold attribute, and thus not suitable for little Yen to cultivate. It seems that I'll have to find a water and cold attribute inheritance for little Yen in the future, Lu Qing thought to himself. Of course, there was no rush for this. Before stepping into the innate realm, the cultivation in the postnatal realm didn't really involve attributes. Everyone would methodically temper their qi blood, muscles and bones and inner organs. Only after stepping into the innate realm and cultivating their own innate true qi would the attributes come into play. Little Yen was still a young kid, not even having started the first step of cultivation. Even with exceptional talent, who knew how many years it would take to reach the innate realm? The search for cultivation techniques could be taken slowly. For the cultivation of the postnatal realm, the nourishing body boxing taught by her master was enough for her to learn for now. Thinking this, Lu Qing looked up and asked, Little Yen, do you want to learn how to read and write? Read and write. Little Yen blinked, somewhat puzzled. Yes, read and write. You really enjoy the little monkey stories, don't you? Outside, there are actually many stories even better than the little monkey stories, but those are written in books. Once little Yen learns to read and write, you'll be able to read those stories yourself. During this time, Lu Qing still needed to tell little Yen stories now and then. He just didn't get it. How such a simple monkey story could be listened to so many times without her getting tired of it. Even little Li, whenever he started to tell a story, would sit quietly and attentively, her eyes gleaming, clearly enjoying the story. So, in order to stimulate little Yan's desire to learn, he decided to use this as a lure. Sure enough, as soon as little Yen heard this, she immediately became interested. Even little Li pricked up her ears. Brother, are there really many stories outside that are even better than the little monkeys? She asked. Of course, but those stories are written in books and can't be understood by those who don't know how to read and write. I want to learn, I want to learn. Brother, I want to learn to read and write, little Yen exclaimed immediately. Then okay, starting today, I'll teach you how to read and write. If I'm not available, you can also learn from Grandpa Chin. Seeing the little one take the bait, Lu Qing's lips curved into a slight smile. At that moment, he felt something tugging at the hem of his trousers. Looking down, he saw little Li gazing up at him with hopeful eyes. What's the matter, little Li? Do you also want to learn to read and write? Lu Qing asked in surprise. Seeing her nod, Lu Qing was a bit speechless. He hadn't expected the allure of the stories to be so great that even the little beast wanted to learn to read and write. But how should one teach a little beast? He had no experience with that. Well, that's perfect, brother. Little Li and I can learn together. Little Yen, however, was thrilled. Having a learning partner was, of course, the best. Well, all right then. Faced with the hopeful gaze of the two little ones, Lu Qing could only nod in agreement. Chapter 108, Qi Blood Perfection, Comprehending Runes. As Lu Qing finished his morning meal, he began teaching the two little ones how to recognize characters. Heaven and earth are enigmatic, the universe primal and vast. Holding a small stick, Lu Qing wrote in a basin of sand, reciting to them as he went. Having never tutored children in his past life, he could only teach based on his own understanding, slowly and steadily. Unknown to him what the primer books of this world were like, he taught them from the 1,000-character classic he had learned, bit by bit. Fortunately, little Yen and little Li were both quite bright and, despite Lu Qing's awkward teaching, were quick to remember. Of course, they could only recognize the characters and not write them or understand their meanings. All right, now that you two recognize these characters, you can try writing them on your own. Once he saw that little Yen and little Li had memorized the characters, Lu Qing fetched 2 more basins of sand and placed them before them. If a schoolmaster were to witness this scene, he would likely be sick with frustration. Teaching recognition of characters like this, cramming them in on the first day of learning, without fearing the children would be overwhelmed, was unheard of. But at this moment, only Lu Qing and the 2 little ones were in the house. Both sides were daring, one to teach and the other 2 to learn. Upon hearing Lu Qing's words, little Yen and little Li began earnestly practicing their writing. Little Yen gripped a small stick, first observing the characters her brother had written, then imitating them in her basin of sand. Little Li had some trouble. With only pause, it found holding the stick awkward. After a few attempts, it simply tossed the stick aside and extended a sharp claw to write in the sand. Lu Qing watched, somewhat amused, but did not stop her. Expecting a little beast to grasp a pen and write was indeed asking too much. Just as the 2 little ones were seriously learning to write, a voice came from outside. "Qing, Master, why have you come over?" Lu Qing went out, surprised. "I have finished crafting the Qi Blood nourishing elixirs you needed and brought them over," said Elder Chan, smiling. "It's too kind of you to deliver them in person, Master. I should have come to pick them up," Lu Qing said somewhat embarrassedly. "Why should we worry about such matters between master and disciple? I've been sitting in the medicine room for several days and needed some fresh air." The elder doctor stepped into the house. "Grandpa Chun." Little Yen greeted him politely, and even little Li called out, "Yes, dear, what are you doing?" The elder doctor was curious to see both little ones each sitting in front of a basin of sand. "Brother is teaching us to recognize characters, and we are learning to write," little Yen said with excitement. "Recognizing characters?" The elder doctor looked more puzzled and turned to Lu Qing. It was understandable to teach little Yen, but why was little Li also sitting so obediently? Embarrassed, Lu Qing said, "I had some free time and thought that little Yen is not so young anymore and should start learning to recognize characters, so I started teaching her. Unexpectedly, little Li also showed a great interest, so I taught them both." Elder Dr. Chun looked at little Li in surprise. He had not expected the little black beast to have such an eager heart for learning, much stronger than many human children. He did not know that the reason the 2 little ones were so actively learning to recognize characters was entirely because Lu Qing had hooked their interest with stories, inspiring them to learn. Recognizing characters is good. Most knowledge in this world is hidden within books. If you understand characters, you will be able to learn many principles on your own in the future, said the elder doctor approvingly. Then Grandpa Chen, are there many interesting stories in the books? Little Yen asked eagerly. Little Li also looked over. The elder doctor paused, then nodded. Of course, there are many fascinating tales in storybooks. Hearing this, little Yen and little Li's eyes lit up even brighter, their enthusiasm for writing growing stronger. Lu Qing was flustered and quickly diverted his master's attention. "Master, you said that you've finished making the Qi Blood nourishing elixirs?" "Indeed, they are ready." The elder doctor nodded, taking out several large medicine bottles. "I've sorted the elixirs according to their medicinal effects. These 2 bottles contain those crafted from ginseng of under 200 years, this bottle from 300 years, and this bottle from the 500-year-old treasure ginseng. Keep them safe. Seeing Lu Qing accept the elixirs, Elder Dr. Chen added, Qing, elixirs are beneficial, but you must also be careful when taking them. Every medicine has its poison. Even the best elixir must be taken in proper doses. Do not damage your health in haste to achieve results. I will remember that, Lu Qing said earnestly. All right, I won't disturb you any further and will head back up the mountain. After delivering the elixirs, the elder doctor felt relieved and announced his departure. Master, you've been crafting elixirs for days without probably having a proper meal. Why not let me prepare a simple meal for you? Seeking to prevent his master from leaving so soon, Lu Qing quickly offered. That's not necessary. I've already eaten. Over these past few days while crafting the elixirs, I've pondered over the innate technique you gave me and had some realizations. It's a good time for me to go into seclusion. Continue teaching little Yen and the others to recognize characters. The elder doctor refused. Seeing his master so determined, Lu Qing had no choice but to let the matter go. After all, such insights were rare, and he truly feared interrupting his master's enlightenment. After his master left, Lu Qing saw little Yen still seriously writing and did not disturb them. Going into the yard, he took out a qi blood nourishing elixir that was 100 years old, swallowed it and began to cultivate. As soon as the elixir entered his stomach, its medicinal properties quickly spread through his body. Lu Qing started practicing the first 9 movements of the nourishing body boxing technique one by one. Lu Qing's nourishing body boxing had undergone quite a few changes compared to before. After a trip into the mountains, Lu Qing had found a great opportunity, not only inheriting the legacy of Li Weitian, a cultivator of innate perfection, but also learning the method of cultivating runes. Chapter 109. Though these 2 inheritances had not directly increased his strength, they greatly widened his horizons. They gave him a completely new understanding of the path of cultivation. And with that, his insights into nourishing body boxing deepened by another level. Whenever Lu Qing executed a move, there was not a hint of mundanity about him. He radiated vigorous vitality. Merely watching him brought a sense of relaxation and contentment to the observer. He fully embodied the nourishing essence of nourishing body boxing. If the elder doctor had been there to see Lu Qing's boxing, he would have been astonished. For Lu Qing's mastery of the first 9 moves of nourishing body boxing had now equaled his own. His deepening proficiency in nourishing body boxing had also sped up his refinement of the blood-nourishing qi-enhancing elixirs quite a bit. It wasn't long before the potency of a 100-year-old blood-nourishing qi-enhancing elixir was completely refined by him, transforming into his own qi and blood power. Without hesitation, he took out another elixir from the bottle and ingested it, continuing his cultivation. Lu Qing's martial arts realm had long reached the level of understanding necessary for perfect blood qi realm. What he lacked was merely the power of qi blood. Therefore, refining elixirs in succession was no issue for him. What he needed to be careful of was not refining too many blood-nourishing qi-enhancing elixirs in one day to give his body a chance to adjust and acclimate. However, refining a few blood-nourishing qi-enhancing elixirs in a day would not pose a problem. Lu Qing cultivated in the yard, and passing villagers who saw him couldn't help but stop and watch, their eyes filled with envy. But no one dared disturb him. Nowadays in Jili village, Lu Qing's status was exceedingly high. Not to mention his strength, which could kill a man with ease. The silver he had shared with the village alone was enough to earn him the gratitude of all. So when they saw Lu Qing practicing, no one dared to interrupt him. In the days that followed, Lu Qing's life became very regular. Every day, apart from paying a visit to his master and learning some medical skills, he spent most of his time cultivating and refining blood-nourishing qi-enhancing elixirs. The remaining time was spent teaching little Yen and little Li to read. Occasionally, he would go fishing to provide little Li with some provisions. It's worth mentioning that since catching 2 golden loaches that one time, Lu Qing had not been able to catch any more strange fish. It was unclear whether he had fished out all the strange fish from the river, or if they had become wary. As a result, Lu Qing had yet to fulfill the promise he made to little Li. And so, time passed quickly. As Little Yen and Little Li recognized more and more characters, Lu Qing's martial arts strength also grew rapidly. On the 7th day after they began learning to read, Lu Qing reached the great success stage of the Blood Qi realm. 15 days after they started reading, in the bamboo forest behind the mountain, the cultivating Lu Qing shook suddenly, as a vast power of qi and blood surged up. Guided by his will, it gathered and dispersed as he wished, perfectly harmonious and without flaw. Finally, I've reached the perfect Blood Qi realm. Lu Qing opened his eyes, his face filled with joy. After continuous cultivation for half a month and consuming most of the blood-nourishing qi-enhancing elixirs, he had finally raised the power of qi blood within his body to its limit, reaching the realm of perfect blood qi. Now, all he needed to do was rest for a while and fully master this power of perfect blood qi before attempting to break through to the muscle-bone realm. Martial arts cultivation really is like a gold-consuming beast, Lu Qing remarked, looking at the beside bottle of medicine. In half a month, he had progressed from qi blood minor achievement to perfect blood qi. Others would be astounded at such a pace of cultivation. But Lu Qing found nothing remarkable about it. In this half-month, he didn't even know how many blood-nourishing qi-enhancing elixirs he had consumed. If he were to convert all those elixirs into silver, he could likely crush a few individuals at the muscle-bone realm to death. With so many resources piled up, it would be truly absurd if his martial arts progress wasn't fast. However, because I took Earth Vein Spirit Liquid, my potential has increased considerably, allowing me to accommodate far more qi and blood power than an average person in the blood qi realm. Now, the qi blood power within me is likely several times stronger than that of an ordinary martial artist at the same level of perfect blood qi realm. Feeling the harmonious and satisfying qi blood power inside, Lu Qing was very satisfied. After all, the Earth Vein Spirit Liquid was a mysterious substance created by beings above the innate, and its effect on enhancing talent was still extremely formidable. Now, if the heart-plucking wolf were to be revived and face him again, he was confident that, without even using a knife, a casual punch would be enough to blast it away, without the need for a second move. Even if it were a perfect blood qi realm martial artist of the same level, unless it was a martial arts prodigy with equally astonishing talent, it's likely they couldn't withstand a few of his moves. I just don't know. If I were to face Ma Gu now, what are the odds of victory? Lu Qing remembered that Ma Gu's martial arts realm was at the initial entry to the muscle-bone realm, belonging to the lowest ranks within the muscle-bone realm. In the journey of martial arts, there's a huge gap between each realm. By logic, even the weakest muscle-bone realm should definitely be stronger than the qi-blood realm. But in this world, many things inherently lack reason. Some martial arts prodigies with heaven-defying talent are able to cross that chasm and fight beyond their levels. Lu Qing didn't know if his current talent qualified him as such a martial arts prodigy. Thus, he was also unsure whether he had the credentials to face Ma Gu. Maybe find an opportunity to spar with Ma Gu? No sooner had this thought arisen than it was immediately dismissed by Lu Qing. His current strength, far exceeding that of an ordinary perfect blood qi realm martial artist, was still not suitable to reveal. Otherwise, it would be difficult to say it wouldn't lead to unwarranted speculation. Lurking strangeness often hints at a monster, and no one is a true fool. For him to have cultivated to perfect blood qi realm in such a short period was already staggering enough. But this could still be explained with his cultivation talent. If he were to expose his strength that far surpasses those of ordinary people, even fools might sense something was wrong with him. Even if others couldn't guess the existence of Earth Vein Spirit Liquid, they might wonder if he had obtained some against the heavens spiritual medicine. In that case, various troubles might follow one after another. Currently, Lu Qing lacked the power to resist such troubles. For now, it's better to keep a low profile as the primary strategy, until I enter the internal organ realm, or until my master officially breaks through to the innate realm, then I won't have to fear most of the forces in this world. Lu Qing set a target for himself. At the same time, he reminded himself never to become arrogant just because he had gained a bit of strength. The Qi Blood realm is just the first realm on the path of martial arts, and he has a long road ahead. If he gets arrogant now, how could he possibly reach the pinnacle of martial arts? After reflecting for a while, Lu Qing calmed his excitement from the breakthrough and regained his usual calmness. He sat cross-legged, slowly regulating his breathing, then activated his superpower, entering a state of focused mind and heart cleansing, and took out a piece of broken silver. During this time, most of his time was spent on refining elixirs to nourish blood and qi and on breaking through martial arts realms. He had reduced the time dedicated to comprehending the rune path. Now that he had made a breakthrough in the realm, it would still take some time to mature before stepping into the muscle-bone realm. It's time to continue studying the rune path. Holding the broken silver, Lu Qing observed it in a state of focused mind and heart cleansing. During this time, he hadn't spent much time on the rune path, but he still occasionally contemplated the patterns on the silver. He had a feeling that just one more serious study session would allow him to completely comprehend the mysterious patterns on the silver. The mountain breeze gently brushed by, and light wind sounds came from the bamboo forest. The sunlight quietly fell through the gaps between the bamboo. Everything seemed so serene and contented. In such an environment, Lu Qing quietly contemplated the mysterious patterns on the silver. Time ticked away slowly, and as the sunlight began to slant, Lu Qing remained motionless, his attention wholly fixed on the silver. Finally, as dusk approached, a gleam suddenly appeared in his eyes. Chapter 110, Major Event Wei Family Crisis Showing Some Kindness. I didn't expect that a small piece of silver could contain so much information, Lu Qing said with a gleam in his eyes, muttering to himself. Just now, he had finally deciphered all the patterns on this piece of broken silver and grasped the connection between them and the gold runes in the inheritance summary of the Divine Talisman sect. Of course, this didn't mean he had already mastered the rune path, it was merely a hint of insight, and he was still a long way from that stage. But as they say, every journey begins with a single step. Any insight, the breakthrough from 0 to 1, is the hardest. Now that he'd taken the hardest step with this hint of insight, studying the textures of other objects would be much easier. He believed the day he truly entered the rune path wasn't far off. Tucking the silver back into his chest, Lu Qing was in a great mood. Today was truly a good day. Not only had he reached Qi blood perfection in his martial arts cultivation, but he had also made breakthrough progress in his rune studies. After packing up his things, he walked out of the bamboo grove and headed home. As he just reached the village, he saw someone waiting at the gate of his yard, constantly looking out. Brother Tian? Lu Qing recognized the person and called out in surprise. Young Master Lu, you've finally returned. Xiao Tian saw Lu Qing and showed a joyful expression. Why are you standing outside, my rare guest? Why not come in and sit? Lu Qing asked. I knocked on the door, young master, but there was no one at home, Xiao Tian said somewhat embarrassedly. Lu Qing then remembered that little Yen and little Li had gone out to visit their master. I apologize for the poor reception. Come in and sit. Lu Qing opened the bamboo gate. No need, young Master Lu. I've come here on urgent business, Xiao Tian declined. Oh? What business? Lu Qing recalled the anxious expression he had seen earlier. I'm not quite sure of the specifics, but here is a letter Ma Gu asked me to deliver to you, young master. You'll know once you read it. Xiao Tian pulled a sealed letter from his chest. Lu Qing took the letter, opened it, and quickly read through the contents. The more he read, the more solemn his expression became. The letter was indeed from Ma Gu, whose handwriting Lu Qing recognized. Primarily mentioned just one thing. That was that the Wei family had encountered trouble. The cause was that, a few days ago, a group of mysterious individuals had arrived outside the Wei mansion in the county, loudly chastising the family. This scene had immediately alarmed the various powers in the city. The Wei family's position in the county had always been eminent. Even the county lord had to show deference and dared not provoke them. Now, someone dared to openly challenge the Wei family, shocking the local powers. Had these people eaten the hearts of bears and leopards, to be so reckless? Just when the local forces thought this group of mystery people were going to meet their doom, the Silver Moon Guards from Wei Mansion indeed made their move. A whole squad of Silver Moon Guards swept toward the mysterious group. However, contrary to everyone's expectations, the mighty Silver Moon Guards, as seen by them, failed to capture the group. Instead, they were beaten back step by step, and it was only when the Grand Steward of the Wei family personally intervened that the situation was stabilized and the mysterious group was held back. But even though they were held back, the arrogant demeanor of the mysterious people was undiminished. They claimed that since the Wei family's innate ancestor had died, they should no longer hoard that precious artifact, and that it would be wise to hand it over soon. Otherwise, clinging to the artifact might bring about the calamity of their clan's extermination. After dropping the harsh words, the mysterious group temporarily retreated. But the words they'd spoken had shaken the entire city. Firstly, the local powers were only then informed that the Wei family had had an ancestor in the innate realm all along. What shocked them even more was that this ancestor seemed to have died. These mysterious individuals appeared to be after some treasure of the Wei mansion. Not only were they individually powerful, but they also showed no fear of the Wei family. This was simply unbelievable to the local forces. However, everyone was unaware that this was just the beginning. In the following days, new faces arrived in the city. Every day, people lingered near the Wei mansion, and in the middle of the night, the sounds of fighting could often be heard coming from there. Then the next day, people saw bodies being cleaned out of the Wei mansion. But this still hadn't deterred those coveting the Wei family's mysterious artifact, as new martial artists continued to gather in the city every day. At the end of the letter, Ma Gu spoke very seriously to Lu Qing. Now, with a large number of martial artists gathered in the county, the situation was turbulent. The Wei family still seemed to be keeping the situation under control for now, but no one knew how long they could hold on. Under these circumstances, the Wei family would undoubtedly not be able to concern themselves with minor matters like the Black Wolf Gang. Moreover, according to his knowledge, the Black Wolf Gang had recently been backed by some powerful martial artists and had begun to act arrogantly again. It was hard to say whether they would start probing into the Happy Village affair again. So Ma Gu advised Lu Qing to avoid going out unnecessarily recently, to avoid running into anyone from the Black Wolf Gang and causing unnecessary trouble. Lu Qing closed the letter, his expression turning grave. The news from Ma Gu was indeed very important. Seeing that the Wei family had an ancestor in the innate realm was unexpected. Chapter 111. No wonder the Wei family was able to expand so swiftly from a minor family in a county to a powerful household that spanned the state mansion and had direct connections to the royal capital. It turns out their foundational strength lay here. Sadly, success by the innate, downfall by the innate. Now that the innate ancestor of the Wei family has encountered problems, backlash followed suit. Those coveting the Wei family's foundational strength pounced almost instantly. But can the Wei family persevere through this? Lu Qing wondered silently. His impression of the Wei family was still rather favorable. Not to mention the secret manual and elixir that Housekeeper Wei had given him originally. Even the matter of Happy Village, it was the Wei family who had temporarily fended off the Black Wolf Gang for him. This debt of gratitude, Lu Qing still remembered. Yet, although indebted, Lu Qing could only feel powerless regarding the Wei family's plight. According to what Ma Gu had said in the letter, the martial artists gathered in the county were at the very least at the muscle-bone realm, and even a few internal organ realm warriors were not uncommon. In such a complex situation, what could he, a mere Qi blood realm martial artist, possibly achieve? The only thing he could do was pray that the Wei family had a deep enough foundation to withstand this crisis. Only the Black Wolf Gang? Lu Qing thought of the final words in Ma Gu's letter, his eyes flashing with a hint of cold intent. The score with the Black Wolf Gang, it hadn't been settled yet. If those scoundrels dared to surface again, he wouldn't mind teaching them a harsh lesson. Xiao Tian, standing beside him, couldn't help but shiver upon seeing the sternness in Lu Qing's eyes. Involuntarily, he was reminded of that night, the scene where Lu Qing stood amidst a rolling tide of heads. That sight was a terrifying memory that would stay with him for life. Young Master Lu, the situation in town is complex now. My master has returned to the city to help our family maintain order, so during this time, I will be managing the gatherings. If you need anything, just let me know. and I will prepare everything as best as I can. These days, Lu Qing also frequented the gatherings on occasion. Xiao Tian knew he would often need quite a few things. Thank you for that. Lu Qing nodded, taking a closer look at Xiao Tian, an idea suddenly stirring in his mind. Brother Tian, have you been stuck before entering the Qi blood realm for a long time? Xiao Tian was startled, then respectfully said, My talent is dull, making young Master Lu laugh. Xiao Tian also felt somewhat dejected. He had been following Grandfather Ma for quite a while and often received his guidance. Physically, his qualities had been honed to the pinnacle of an ordinary person's. Yet for some reason, he simply couldn't make the final step, unable to grasp the secret of Qi blood connection that Grandfather Ma described. This resulted in his inability to enter the Qi blood realm. Seeing the disappointment in Xiao Tian's eyes, Lu Qing smiled slightly. He casually took out an elixir and handed it over. I've bothered you a lot these past days, running around for me. Here's an elixir. Consider it a small gift from me. Once you take it, you should be able to step into the Qi blood realm. Xiao Tian caught the elixir, somewhat overwhelmed with gratitude, and couldn't keep from asking, Young Master Lu, what elixir is this? It's called the Nourishing Qi and Blood Elixir. Xiao Tian was immediately stunned. He had heard Grandfather Ma mention the elixir that Lu Qing referred to. It was reputed to be one of the best auxiliary elixirs in the Qi blood realm. A single pill was incredibly valuable. Xiao Tian still remembered the regret on Grandfather Ma's face when he spoke of this elixir, saying that even he, during his Qi blood realm stage, only had 3 nourishing Qi and blood elixirs for his cultivation. If he could have received more support from his family back then, perhaps he wouldn't have had to spend so much time and effort on Qi and blood durability and would have reached the muscle-bone realm much sooner than he actually did. Even Grandfather Ma, so valued by his family, had only 3 nourishing Qi and blood elixirs to aid his cultivation during the Qi blood realm, and now he had the chance to obtain one. Xiao Tian was suddenly filled with reverence and trepidation. He certainly did not doubt the authenticity of this elixir. With Lu Qing's status and cultivation, there was no need to deceive him with such matters. He merely felt that such a precious elixir was too exalted for someone of his humble status to touch. Young Master Lu, I can't accept such a precious elixir, Xiao Tian hastily said. It's fine, just take it. Ma Gu won't be able to return for a while, and you'll be in charge of the market. With your current strength alone, I'm afraid you won't be able to keep things in order. Stepping into the Qi blood realm sooner will enable you to manage the market on Ma Gu's behalf. Xiao Tian's martial arts were decent, but it was doubtful that they would be enough to manage a large market. Not to mention, his colleagues might not necessarily submit to him. Even some country bullies were strong and robust. Ordinary people practicing martial arts, if they can't step into the Qi blood realm and grasp the power of Qi and blood, no matter how skilled they become, they might not be able to take on multiple opponents. In situations where they face opponents who disregard martial ethics and attack all at once, they may end up capsized in the gutter. Lu Qing, who lived a secluded life, rarely traveled far except to gather herbs in the mountains. The marketplace was vital for his living supplies, and he didn't want it to become chaotic. Therefore, it was better for him if Xiao Tian could manage the market well. After all, he had already reached perfection in the Qi blood realm, and the blood-nourishing elixir wasn't of much use to him anymore. To use one as a favor was no problem. Young Master Lu. Xiao Tian wanted to say something else, but didn't know what else to say at the moment. Enough, don't fuss. Lu Qing smiled. I'm a martial artist myself, and naturally know the difficulties of cultivation. This is also a chance for you, so don't refuse it. Xiao Tian was taken aback. He thought, if someone with your frightful speed of cultivation still calls it difficult, then what are we, lowly underlings, supposed to say? But he knew that someone like Lu Qing, with a firm will and a domineering way of doing things, was hard to refuse. Lu Qing had made himself very clear. If Xiao Tian still refused, it would be a blatant disrespect. Daring to disrespect Lu Qing was something Xiao Tian, regardless of how bold he was, wouldn't dare to do. So all he could do was gratefully say, Then, I'll have to thank young Master Lu. Watching Xiao Tian carefully going to store the blood-nourishing elixir away, Lu Qing shook his head. He somewhat understood why Xiao Tian hadn't been able to enter the Qi blood realm thus far. Although young, Xiao Tian had perhaps served others too much and had grown accustomed to acting humbly and cautiously in everything he did. This wasn't necessarily a bad thing. But as a martial artist, it's essential to have some of the bravery that comes with Qi and blood. Otherwise, how could one ascend the path of martial arts against the current? Xiao Tian lacked this bit of valor, hence his ongoing failure to grasp the mystery of the connection between Qi and blood, unable to step into the Qi blood realm. Realizing this, Lu Qing suddenly said, "Brother Tian, there's no need to put away the blood-nourishing elixir. Take it here and now. Take it here." Xiao Tian was shocked. "Yes, it just so happens I have some free time, and I can act as your protector for a while," Lu Qing said. Xiao Tian immediately hesitated. In his view, how could one casually swallow an elixir as precious as the blood-nourishing elixir? One should at least bathe, wear clean clothes, and adjust their breath, ensuring that every state of the body is at its best before taking it. Only then could one better refine the power of the medicine and avoid wasting it. But he also dared not go against Lu Qing's words, so after hesitating for a moment, he swallowed the elixir down. Once the elixir was ingested, Xiao Tian felt a surge of medicinal power arising within him. The power was so intense and vast, far beyond Xiao Tian's expectations, leaving him unprepared. Just as he was unsure of what to do, Lu Qing suddenly shouted, "Why aren't you practicing your martial arts to refine the medicine?" Startled, Xiao Tian quickly assumed a stance and began practicing a set of boxing. It was a Qi blood realm boxing technique taught to him by Ma Gu, which he had practiced for many years. Lu Qing watched Xiao Tian's boxing for a while, nodding with some satisfaction. Although this boxing technique was not as profound as nourishing body boxing, Xiao Tian was skilled in its practice. If nothing unexpected happened, Xiao Tian would soon step into the Qi blood realm. However, many things in this world tend to be surprising. Lu Qing thought that with the assistance of the blood-nourishing elixir, Xiao Tian should easily step into the Qi blood realm. But after a long wait, he saw Xiao Tian practicing his boxing without being able to make that crucial step. Seeing him covered in steamy sweat, Lu Qing realized that if this continued, not only would the elixir's power be exhausted, but Xiao Tian himself might suffer significant harm. Immediately, Lu Qing drew his war saber from his back, a killing intent enveloping Xiao Tian as he struck with the blade. "Xiao Tian, watch for the saber." Upon hearing these words, Xiao Tian instinctively looked over and felt his soul tremble with terror. Chapter 112. Lu Qing's sudden strike was the last thing Xiao Tian could have expected. He had never even considered the possibility that Lu Qing would suddenly attack him with such lethal intent here. But the fierce killing intent carried in Lu Qing's strike was all too real, convincing Xiao Tian beyond doubt that if he didn't dodge, Lu Qing would truly cleave him in two. Involuntarily, Xiao Tian's mind was flooded with the image of Lu Qing's murderous silhouette from their time at Happy Village. Overwhelming fear instantly enveloped Xiao Tian's entire body. In this life and death moment, he had no time to think. He could only desperately dodge backward, relying on instinct. At that moment, he unconsciously unleashed all his strength, pouring all his heart and spirit and will into his legs, hoping to summon even a bit more force, to increase his speed and avoid Lu Qing's deadly slash. In this moment of utmost focus, Xiao Tian seemed to sense an extra surge of power within his body that he could call upon. Without thinking, he channeled it into his legs. Boom! And so, with every ounce of strength mustered, Xiao Tian finally managed to retreat, just as Lu Qing's war saber reached him, knocking down a nearby fence and tumbling into the vegetable patch. Lu Qing did not pursue after his failed strike, but instead sheathed his saber, looking down at Xiao Tian on the ground with a smile. "Not bad. Your reflexes are pretty sharp. Young Master Lu, why did you do this? Have I offended you in any way?" Lying on the ground, Xiao Tian asked in panic. He genuinely couldn't understand why Lu Qing would attack him out of the blue. "You haven't offended me. Now sense the Qi blood in your body." Is there any difference from before? Lu Qing said with a smile. The qi blood in my body? Xiao Tian was startled and hastily began to sense his own body. In that explosive moment just now, Xiao Tian had used all his strength. Now he felt weak all over, and his leg muscles were strained and ached terribly. However, Xiao Tian didn't care about the pain, as he discovered that the qi blood within him was now very lively. More importantly, he could command it at will, capable of gathering and dispersing it with ease. At this moment, Xiao Tian finally understood. He had grasped the mystery of the qi blood connection and had stepped into the long-dreamed qi blood realm. Thank you so much, young Master Lu, for your great kindness and mercy. Xiao Tian got up and started kowtowing to Lu Qing. Heaven knows how many years he had labored in an effort to enter the qi blood realm. Yet for some reason he could never take that crucial step. Even just before, after taking the blood-replenishing qi-enhancing pill, he thought he would surely break through immediately. But to his surprise, even after the medicine's effect was more than halfway gone, he still couldn't find the opportunity to break through. Xiao Tian's heart had almost sunk into despair, but Lu Qing's saber strike had somehow thrust him into the qi blood realm. Now, it became clear to him that the killing intent in Lu Qing's strike was not aimed at taking his life but rather to forcibly draw out his potential on purpose. Otherwise, with Lu Qing's prowess in the martial arts, if he had truly wished to kill him, he would not have needed such an overt display of killing intent. A simple strike would have likely sufficed. Therefore, at this moment, Xiao Tian was filled with gratitude toward Lu Qing. Enough, there's no need for that. The heavenly Tao rewards the diligent. If your foundation had not been so solid, barely a hair's breadth away from the qi blood realm, my saber could not have helped you break through, Lu Qing said with a smile. Xiao Tian knocked his head against the ground 3 more times before finally getting up. No matter what, young Master Lu, you are my benefactor, and I will never forget your great kindness and mercy in this lifetime, Xiao Tian said earnestly. Lu Qing smiled and shook his head, about to speak. Suddenly, a loud shout erupted. Who's the little rascal causing trouble, tearing down my fence and trampling all over the vegetable field like this? Lu Qing blinked, seeing Uncle Zhang's second son glaring fiercely at his own vegetable field. It turned out that Xiao Tian, in his frantic attempt to evade Lu Qing's slash, had damaged Zhang's vegetable garden fence and trampled on 2 vegetable plots. Now, the vegetables on those 2 plots were a sorry mess. Xiao Tian's face instantly flushed with embarrassment. Uncle Zhang, it was me. Seeing the situation, Lu Qing had no choice but to call out. Ah Qing, was it you who did this to the vegetable field? Uncle Zhang, still fuming, then noticed Lu Qing and paused. Sorry, Uncle Zhang, I was just sparring with a friend and accidentally damaged your vegetable garden. I will fix it for you later, Lu Qing said apologetically. Never mind, I thought it was some troublemaker. But if it's you, Ah Qing, then it's fine. I'll handle it later. There's no need to trouble yourself, Uncle Zhang said dismissively, his anger dissipating. At the same time, he recognized Xiao Tian. After all, Uncle Zhang often went to buy things at the marketplace and knew Xiao Tian as Ma Ye's capable assistant who maintained order there. He noticed Xiao Tian's clothes were a jaundiced green, stained with mud and vegetable juice, looking quite disheveled. Then, looking at Lu Qing, who was spotless, he couldn't help but click his tongue in wonder. It seemed this was hardly a sparring session but rather a one-sided pummeling. Xiao Tian's face turned a deeper shade of red as he pulled out a pouch from his bosom and poured out some pieces of silver, stepping forward to place them in Uncle Zhang's hand. Uncle, I'm the one who damaged the vegetable plot and fence. This silver is to compensate you. Then, he bowed to Lu Qing and said, Young Master Lu, I'll head back to the marketplace. If you need anything in the future, just command me, and I'll do my utmost to assist you. Chapter 113. Having said that, she blushed and walked toward the outskirts of the village. Uncle Zhang, seeing the silver in his hand which was as heavy as half a tael, suddenly shouted, Hey young man, 2 plots of vegetable garden don't cost so much. However, the more he shouted, the faster Xiao Tian walked, without looking back at all. Lu Qing found it amusing and said, "Uncle Zhang, just accept it. After all, it's compensation for you." Xiao Tian was a capable assistant by Ma Gu's side, and now he was in charge of the big market. Naturally, he wouldn't be short of money. Half a tael of silver was nothing to him. Sigh, but this is too much for such a trivial matter. I just need to fix the fence and replant the vegetables. It doesn't cost that much silver. Uncle Zhang still felt it was a bit improper. Lu Qing, however, didn't care about that and, after a brief chat with Uncle Zhang, turned and walked into the courtyard. Upon entering the house, Lu Qing's expression became serene. The news brought by Xiao Tian was something he took very seriously. Now the county was in turmoil, with a large number of martial arts experts gathering. It won't be long before a great battle erupts. The county is quite far from Jili village. Theoretically, even if there was chaos there, it should not affect this place. But there is always the fear of the unexpected. If the state mansion collapses and martial artists scatter everywhere, who knows what consequences it may bring. Therefore, one should not lower their guard. I hope the Wei family can stabilize the situation. I wonder, has the innate ancestor of the Wei family really died? Lu Qing couldn't help but ponder. According to what Ma Gu wrote in his letter, those mysterious people boldly announced the death of the Wei family's innate ancestor in the county, so it should be true. But he always felt something was amiss. Firstly, how did the Wei family's innate ancestor die? If it was through vengeance, then the entity capable of killing an innate realm expert should have directly attacked and destroyed the Wei family. If it was an accident, how did those mysterious people come to know about it? And looking at the situation in the county, the death of the Wei family's innate ancestor seemed to be common knowledge, which in itself was strange. According to his master's words, innate realm experts are always elusive, hardly leaving any traces. Now the death of an innate realm has caused such an uproar, which in itself is extraordinary. Lu Qing always felt that behind all this was a giant hand controlling the storm, plotting something. Could it be that the Wei family actually possesses some treasure that someone is going through so much effort to scheme for? And why would they not directly seize it? Are they apprehensive or probing something? Lu Qing recalled when he first heard from Ma Gu that the Wei family, being a prominent family, had always kept their family head in the old house in the county. He had speculated that the Wei family had secrets. Now it seems his guess was right. The question is whether the Wei family can now protect that secret or not. Sadly, he had too little information on hand to analyze anything. Well, even if there are significant figures scheming something, it's not something I can get involved with now. Lu Qing thought for a while, felt clueless, and simply stopped thinking about it. He himself was merely a martial artist in the Qi blood realm. Among the warriors gathered in the county, he did not know how many could crush him. Even if he knew the insides, what could he do? It was better to just watch the drama unfold and silently pray for the Wei family. However, I still need to inform my master. With the situation being so complicated in the city, it's better if he doesn't go into town for now. Although his master was now at half-step innate, the affairs in the city might be a contest between those in the innate realm. Lu Qing did not want his master to be involved in such a turmoil. With these thoughts, Lu Qing closed the doors of the house and headed towards Half Mountain's small courtyard. As he approached Half Mountain's small courtyard, he could hear Little Yan's laughter from a distance. Entering the courtyard, he saw his master, Little Yan, and Little Li, sitting in front of a stone table, drinking tea and chatting. Of course, the master was drinking tea, while Little Yan and Little Li were eating snacks. "Brother!" Little Yan was facing the entrance of the courtyard, and upon seeing Lu Qing, she immediately called out, Lu Qing walked over. The elder doctor turned around, and surprise filled his eyes upon seeing Lu Qing approach. "You've broken through?" "Yes, I just broke through not long ago." Lu Qing knew that his progress in the martial arts realm could not be hidden from his master, who was about to refine the divine soul power. "Your cultivation speed is really—" The elder doctor immediately marveled. His disciple's cultivation speed was too fast. Not much time had passed since he took him as a disciple, and now he had already reached the perfection of the Qi blood realm. Even during his travels in the state mansion, he had never heard of any martial arts prodigy with a cultivation speed like Lu Qing's. "It's all thanks to the teacher's good instruction," Lu Qing modestly said as usual. "Don't flatter me so much," the elder doctor said with a mixed expression of laughter and helplessness. "Apart from teaching you a set of nourishing body boxing and making some elixirs for you, I haven't really helped you with anything else. Without the things the teacher gave, the disciple wouldn't be where he is today." The elder doctor helplessly shook his head. His disciple was good in all aspects, but this modesty was just too much. For some reason, no matter how much others praised him, he never considered himself a martial arts genius. It wasn't an act, the elder doctor could see that. Lu Qing truly never saw himself as a martial arts genius, no matter how fast his progress. It seemed he was never complacent about it. Chapter 114. Master, just now, Lord Ma sent his men to deliver a letter, and it mentioned some matters. I believe it's necessary to let you know about it. At this moment, Lu Qing said, "Oh, what's it about?" Seeing Lu Qing's serious expression, the elder doctor couldn't help but look grave. He knew his disciple had some ties with Ma Gu from the market. Could it be he's encountered some difficult issue that required Lu Qing's help? The letter has it all in detail. "Please, master, take a look." Lu Qing took out the letter that Xiao Tian had delivered. The elder doctor took the letter, opened it, and as he read, his face gradually grew more somber. "I didn't expect that such a big incident would happen in the city in just a few days." After reading the letter, the elder doctor showed a look of exclamation. "Master, the city is now a mix of dragons and snakes, and the situation is hard to discern. Perhaps you, elder, should refrain from entering the city for the time being," Lu Qing said. He knew that his master would occasionally go to the city to deliver medicinal materials, but given the current situation in the county, he genuinely did not wish for his master to go there. "That's probably best. I've not been eager to go about lately anyway, and since it's so troublesome in the city, I won't go." The elder doctor thought for a moment and then nodded in agreement. Although he followed the principle of medical benevolence, he was not old-fashioned. Knowing the city had become a powder keg, he naturally wouldn't go looking for trouble. Seeing his master agree, Lu Qing breathed a sigh of relief. He was afraid his master would be too kind-hearted and want to go heal and aid the injured, which could complicate matters. Now it seemed that regarding these issues, his master had a good sense of judgment. "However, Ah Qing, you must be careful yourself. I see the letter mentions that the Black Wolf gang seems to be stirring again. You've offended them before and they might seek revenge," the elder doctor cautioned. "I will be cautious, master." In the following days, Lu Qing continued to live his life with the usual rhythm, regimented and careful. But when going out, he took extra precautions. Occasionally, he would go to the market and seek out Xiao Tian to gather some information. From Xiao Tian, he indeed received plenty of news from the city. For instance, as more and more martial artists gathered in the city, the situation in the county rapidly changed. The county was only so big, and the sudden influx of martial artists naturally led to conflicts. It was common to see martial artists starting fights in the streets over trivial disagreements, resulting in blood staining the sidewalks. Some martial artists began to subjugate local forces for their enjoyment. Those who resisted were immediately destroyed, while those who complied could cling to the powerful entities and rapidly inflate their strength, becoming one of the major forces in the county. Among them, the Black Wolf gang was a prime example. The gang leader, Black Wolf, had somehow persuaded several powerful martial artists to join the Black Wolf gang. Among these fighters, some were even on the powerful level of the Inner Organ realm. This had made the Black Wolf gang one of the mightiest forces in the city, their arrogance boundless. In short, the current situation in the city was in complete disarray, a veritable mess with people dying every day. If not for the County Lord Mansion's declaration forbidding martial artists from harassing civilians, the county would have likely descended into chaos long ago. The County Lord Mansion represented the royal capital's dignity, and on the surface, martial artists still dared not blatantly defy its orders. But even so, Many civilians in the city still fled to temporarily avoid trouble, planning to return once the turbulence subsided. With such chaos in the city, what went against Lu Qing's expectations was that the Wei Mansion had remained standing. The brazen martial artists, despite causing a significant stir in the city, had not yet attacked the Wei Mansion. Both sides seemed to be maintaining some sort of tacit understanding, waiting for something. This made Lu Qing sense something unusual in the air. Chapter 115. Stepping into the muscle-bone realm. Wei family. The martial artists in the county had ultimately formed a standoff with the Wei Mansion, something Lu Qing had not anticipated. He had thought that the two sides would start fighting very soon. However, this also indicated that his previous speculation had some merit. The death of the innate realm elder from the Wei family was indeed suspicious. The current situation in the county had surely been manipulated by someone behind the scenes. It was just unknown how long this strange peace would last. In this way, Lu Qing led his peaceful life on the sidelines, eating melon seeds quietly. Every day he studied medical skills, practiced cultivation, and taught the two little ones how to read. Life couldn't be more rich and fulfilling. What he didn't expect was that after half a month had passed, the situation in the county still hadn't exploded. But Lu Qing had no time to pay attention to these matters anymore, because after half a month's grinding and brewing, he felt the signs of a breakthrough. In the bamboo forest behind the mountain, Lu Qing was sitting cross-legged, a picture of calm, yet his body exuded intense heat. His qi blood coursed through him, reaching a limit. He was attempting to break through the qi blood realm and step into the second realm of martial arts, the muscle-bone realm. The key to breaking through from the qi blood realm to the muscle-bone realm was to push the qi and blood power past its limits and permeate into the bones and tendons, repeatedly nurturing and tempering them until one's tendons, membranes, and bones gradually became stronger. This required martial artists to have an extremely high level of control over their own qi blood. Only by perfectly manipulating the qi and blood power to nurture and temper the bones and tendons without injuring oneself would suffice. Otherwise, if one's control was inadequate and they forcibly tempered, they could easily damage their own bone marrow. This could result in mild bone marrow fractures or, in severe cases, completely burned out bone marrow. This was why Lu Qing, despite having already achieved perfection in the qi blood realm and being able to fully control his own qi blood, still chose to grind for half a month before attempting to break through. Advancing through martial arts realms was not to be taken lightly. One must not act rashly and impatiently, nor could they shrink back in fear. Everything had to be honed just right before making a breakthrough. That was the safest way. At this moment, the qi blood in Lu Qing's body had been pushed to an extreme, forming a thread of incredibly potent qi and blood power. Then, with great caution, he controlled this thread of qi and blood power, breaking its original path, and permeated deeper into his body. This step, although it appeared perilous, was like using a steel wire to lead a fierce beast. The slightest carelessness could result in a qi blood explosion and could gravely injure or cripple him. However, Lu Qing's face remained tranquil. Having reached his current realm, he was already adept at controlling his qi blood. Despite the dangers, everything was under his command. Quickly, the powerful thread of qi and blood power began to break through the limitations, soaking into the bones. Under Lu Qing's strong control, it slowly circulated around the skeleton. With this step, Lu Qing had successfully broken the boundary between the qi blood realm and the muscle-bone realm. But this alone was not enough. Lu Qing stood up, assumed the boxing stance, and began to practice slowly. Starting from the first move of nourishing body boxing, he rapidly progressed to the 9th move. According to his usual cultivation habits, Lu Qing should have started anew from the first move. However, this time he did not do so but continued to practice, performing a brand new move. It was the nourishing body boxing's 10th move. The nourishing body boxing passed down by his master consisted of 36 moves. The initial 9 moves were the cultivation method for the qi blood realm, and from the 10th move onward, it entered the level of the muscle-bone realm. Previously, whenever Lu Qing tried to practice the 10th move, his bones and tendons would ache, preventing him from continuing. But this time was different. As he performed the moves, the thread of qi and blood power he had condensed also rapidly traveled through the bones and tendons throughout his body, nourishing them and alleviating fatigue. This allowed Lu Qing to keep practicing with vigor. With the help of this powerful thread of qi and blood power, Lu Qing smoothly completed the entire 10th move. He did not stop there but continued to practice the 11th move. The 1st to 9th moves of nourishing bodyboxing were for the qi blood realm, while the 10th to 18th moves were for the muscle bone realm. Lu Qing quickly went through the 18th move, and after completing it, he slowly ended his routine and stood still, sensing the condition inside his body. At this moment, he felt extremely well inside. His qi blood surged lively, and his bones and tendrils throughout his body felt as if they were soaking in warm water, comfortably warm. He couldn't help but recall a saying his master had told him when teaching him nourishing bodyboxing. If practicing nourishing bodyboxing became more comfortable, it proved he was doing it correctly. If it became more painful, then surely he had practiced something wrong. Now, his condition clearly showed that he was practicing correctly. Finally stepped into the muscle-bone realm, Lu Qing said joyfully. From now on, he too was a martial artist in the muscle-bone realm, on the same level as Ma Gu. Of course, only in realm. Now, compared to Ma Gu, there was definitely still a gap. He had just stepped into this level, while Ma Gu had been immersed for many years, having tempered his bones and tendons to the limits of his realm. In terms of pure physical strength, Lu Qing feared he still wasn't a match for him. But Lu Qing wasn't worried. Now that he had entered the muscle-bone realm, his strength was set to experience a period of rapid growth. Chapter 116. With his potential reinforced by Earth Vein Spirit Liquid, surpassing Ma Gu would not take much time. Even now, if he really were to fight Ma Gu, it was hard to say who would win or lose. After all, he could feel that his strength had at least doubled compared to before his breakthrough. Originally, his strength was several times stronger than that of a typical martial artist at the perfect qi blood realm. Now, having doubled again, the explosiveness of his burst might be something that martial artists below the small success muscle-bone realm could scarcely match. This was the advantage of having better talent. At the same cultivation realm, a martial artist with better talent had a higher limit and could exert much more power than an average martial artist. After experiencing the feeling of his breakthrough for a while, Lu Qing gradually withdrew his attention. Then, from a package under an old bamboo beside him, he took out a secret manual. Looking at this secret manual, Lu Qing felt somewhat inexplicable. This secret manual was one of the gifts given to him by the Grand Steward of Wei. The Grand Steward of Wei had initially given him 2 items. One of them was the bone-forging pill, which countless martial artists in the muscle-bone realm longed for. The other was the secret manual in his hands. Initially, when Lu Qing received the secret manual, he didn't start studying it right away but stored it together with the bone-forging pill. Later on, as many events took place, he acquired too many opportunities and even obtained several cultivation techniques for the innate realm. Not to mention the even more mysterious inheritance from the Divine Talisman sect. As a result, he completely forgot about this secret manual for a while. It was not until a few days ago when he was cleaning up a box at home that he noticed it. Now that Lu Qing had broken through to the muscle-bone realm, he could start learning the secret technique inside. Looking at the secret manual in his hand, a rich white superpower light soon emerged from the manual. Discovering cultivation technique, would you like to simulate download? Lu Qing chose to download, then slowly turned the pages. Downloading, current progress, 1%, 2%, 3%, 4%. As Lu Qing turned the pages, the progress bar also gradually moved. By the last page, the progress bar jumped to 100%. Download complete, beginning simulation. Current progress, 1%, 2%, 3%, 4%. Lu Qing quietly waited, and before long, a prompt appeared in his vision again. Simulation complete. Would you like to learn? He immediately chose to learn. The next moment, a vast amount of comprehension information emerged from his mind. Lu Qing habitually closed his eyes, silently receiving the information. Before long, he finished receiving the information and opened his eyes, showing a hint of surprise. So, this secret technique is actually an explosive secret technique. With the aid of his superpower, Lu Qing had completely understood the secret technique from the manual. The secret technique recorded in the manual was an explosive secret technique called Violent Qi Technique. The principle of this technique was to stimulate a martial artist's body through a special qi blood circulation method, temporarily exploding with several times the strength of one's own. Of course, like all explosive secret techniques, after being executed it would lead to weakness, and this violent qi technique was no exception. Could be used at most once every 3 days, and each time it could be maintained for half an hour. Afterward, one must rest, otherwise it would leave problems that hindered future cultivation. A standard explosive secret technique. After understanding the details of this violent qi technique, Lu Qing gave his assessment. If it had been him before, perhaps he would have thought highly of this secret technique. But now, having received the inheritances from Li Weitian and the Divine Talisman sect, his perspective had broadened a lot. Looking at this technique now, it naturally seemed average. However, though the level of this secret technique wasn't high, it was still quite useful for Lu Qing at present. So, he decided to properly practice it once he stabilized his power in the muscle-bone realm. Now was not the time. He had just broken through, and his muscles and bones were not fully forged yet, unable to withstand the impact of the power brought by executing the secret technique. After clarifying this, Lu Qing put this secret technique behind him. He glanced at the sky, feeling that it was still early, and continued his cultivation. The situation in the county was quite grim, and trouble could erupt at any time. Who knew what would happen if a real fight broke out? Adding even a bit more strength was always a good thing. While Lu Qing was endeavoring in his cultivation, County Wei Mansion. Ever since the day when those mysterious figures publicly challenged them, Wei Mansion had begun to close its doors and refused to receive anyone. Even the county lord was denied when he visited. Now the vast Wei Mansion looked serene from the outside. Even the fallen leaves outside the gate remained unswept, appearing rather desolate. Compared to the past when everyone revered it and passers-by didn't dare to look directly, it now had a slightly desolate ambience. Inside Wei Mansion, in that uniquely quaint courtyard, the Wei family patriarch was practicing his punches. Beside him, the Grand Steward, whom Lu Qing was quite familiar with, respectfully stood by. Is everything arranged properly? While punching at an even pace, the Wei family patriarch suddenly asked. Although to outsiders, the days at Wei Mansion seemed precarious, the face of the Wei family patriarch remained very calm, showing no signs of anxiety. It was as if nothing on the outside could disturb his inner peace. Everything is arranged, the Grand Steward respectfully said. The lady and the young master have been sent out of the city via the underground passage. By now, they should be heading toward the state mansion. That's good, the Wei family patriarch replied indifferently. Only, at this point, the Grand Steward hesitated. Only what? Before leaving, the young master threw a big tantrum, saying he didn't want to go and wanted to stay with you, sir. In the end, I had to knock him out to calm him down, the Grand Steward said. Hearing this, the Wei family patriarch's body stiffened, and he could no longer continue his punches. He sighed. It's my wife's and my own fault for spoiling him thus, forcing you to be the villain. This servant dares not. It's my duty, the Grand Steward quickly replied. I hope an heir can grow from this experience. I just don't know if I'll have the chance to see that day. The Wei family patriarch sighed deeply. Seeing him like this, the Grand Steward was shaken. Master, could it really be that the ancestor? I don't know. The Wei family patriarch shook his head. All I know is that half a month ago, our ancestor was ambushed by his enemies and managed to escape grievously injured. As for whether he's alive or dead, no one knows. The Grand Steward fell silent. This was the first time in a long while that he had heard definite news of the ancestor from the family head. However, the news didn't sound too good. The Wei family patriarch saw his reaction and gave a smile. Don't worry. The situation hasn't worsened to that extent. As long as there's no news of the ancestor, those outsiders won't dare to attack. The wrath of an innate realm expert is absolutely unbearable for those postnatal realm martial artists. Besides, even if they really have the guts to attack, our Wei mansion is not without the power to fight back. What's there to fear? Those petty people also want to scheme against our Wei family's treasure, but they don't have the capacity. As he spoke, a domineering aura emanated from the Wei family patriarch, completely abandoning his previous calm. However, the Grand Steward's worries did not lessen by much. The outsiders were naturally not to be feared, but he was concerned about the mastermind behind these people. To mobilize so many postnatal realm martial artists, this mastermind must be an innate realm expert, and it's very likely the same person who injured the ancestor. Though there were edicts in the royal capital that innate realm experts should not attack those below innate realm without cause, such edicts had much room for maneuver. Who could guarantee that the mastermind would play by the rules? After all, this world ultimately respects the powerful. The Wei family patriarch seemed to have thought of this issue as well. After his bold declaration, he too fell silent. If not for the fear of the entity behind those warriors outside, why would he have sent his wife and child out of the city? An innate realm expert, after all, was too mighty. Even their Wei mansion could not contend against such a power. Now, all they could hope for was that the ancestor would recover from his injuries and return. But as half a month passed and the ancestor did not return, a bad premonition grew in his mind. Just as the two were immersed in their worries, suddenly, a loud shout came from above the mansion. Chapter 117, Dialogue of the Strong, Innate Prohibition. Wei Xinghe, your half-month deadline has arrived. The voice boomed like rolling thunder, filled with an immense aura that indicated it could only belong to a true top-tier martial arts expert. What have you decided? Will you surrender? Or will you stubbornly defend that treasure, leading your entire Wei family to be buried with it? The expression on both the Wei family patriarch and the Grand Steward's faces changed in an instant. Wei Xinghe was indeed the name of the Wei family patriarch. The Wei family patriarch took a deep breath, and with equal volume he declared, "Enough with the nonsense. If you truly are confident, then by all means come forth. If you intend to seize the Wei family's property, let's see if you have the capabilities." The patriarch's response was just as strong, showing no sign of weakness compared to the voice outside. He too was a formidable martial arts expert. Wei Xinghe, you really are stubborn. Are you truly not afraid that we will slaughter everyone in your Wei mansion without mercy? The voice continued. Since you are so confident, why not come in and try? The Wei family patriarch retorted without showing any weakness. The voice fell silent for a moment, seemingly not expecting Wei Xinghe's attitude to remain so resolute at this point. At this moment, the whole scene was quiet. No one dared to interfere in the conversation between the two top-tier martial arts experts. After a while, the voice spoke again. Wei Xinghe, all you are doing is hoping your venerable ancestor from the Wei family is still alive. Let me tell you the truth, your ancestor has been struck in the heart by the innate sword energy from our master. It's impossible for him to survive. If you know what's good for you, you will surrender and hand over the treasure. That might spare your family. Otherwise, be careful, or the Wei family will have no descendants left. However, the Wei family patriarch was not moved at all. He said indifferently, "In a word, are you going to fight or not? If not, then shut your mouth. A mere nobody, hiding in the shadows. You can't even show your true self, and yet you think you can make the Wei family surrender with just a few words." The voice stumbled. The speaker hadn't expected Wei Xinghe to be so impervious to threats, no matter how menacing. Hearing the disdain in his voice made him angry, truly wanting to throw caution to the wind and battle Wei Xinghe then and there. As a martial artist at the Grandmaster level with inner organs perfection, was he not a man of temper? But recalling his master's words, he still suppressed the anger in his heart. Instead, he scoffed coldly, "Wei Xinghe, continue your futile resistance. The only reason you're so stubborn is that you've managed to send your wife and children out of the city, so you have no concerns left. But do you really think they can escape safely to the state mansion?" Hearing this, the Wei family patriarch could no longer maintain his composure. His face drastically changed, and he shouted angrily, "As a martial artist of Grandmaster level, a renowned figure, you even stoop to threatening women and children. Don't you think that's beneath your dignity? Ha ha ha." The voice laughed wildly. "Didn't you just call me a coward? And now I'm a renowned figure? Wei Xinghe. Guess what? By this time tomorrow, do you think you'll see the heads of your wife and children displayed at the gate of your Wei mansion?" After that, the voice gradually grew fainter and did not speak again. "Wait a minute!" the Wei family patriarch called out urgently. But the voice did not respond anymore, leaving it uncertain whether the person no longer wished to engage with him or had already left. Only the Wei family patriarch was left calling out in vain. "Master, what should we do now?" the grand steward beside him asked anxiously, his mind filled with confusion. "The tunnels in the mansion are dug very deep and the exits are extremely hidden. How could they have discovered them? There are only two possibilities." The Wei family patriarch took a deep breath, forcibly calming his mind and considering. First, someone inside the mansion is an informant, and the whereabouts of an heir and the others have been leaked. That's impossible. The departure of the lady and the young master was personally arranged by me, and those protecting them are the most loyal guards in the mansion. They would never betray our Wei family, the grand steward declared firmly. That leaves only one other possibility then. The Wei family patriarch's face showed a mix of emotions. We may have underestimated the abilities of someone in the innate realm, thinking that by relying on the tunnels we could hide from our opponents. We never imagined that perhaps our arrangements had been in the enemy's sight from the start. The grand steward fell silent. If that was the case, they truly were helpless. The innate realm was always mysterious and unpredictable, with capabilities far beyond what ordinary people could imagine. Even they were not fully aware of what abilities someone in the innate realm could possess. Their ancestor had never shown them these capabilities. What do we do about the lady and the young master? Have they really fallen into their hands? The grand steward asked. They probably haven't yet, otherwise that person would have already used an heir and the others to threaten us. Right now, he only made some harsh comments, so obviously, they have just noticed an heir and the others' tracks but haven't caught them yet. The Wei family patriarch, being more than ordinary, had his heart flooded by the mysterious person's words earlier, but he quickly calmed down and noticed the anomaly. "What do you think, should I go and assist the lady and the others?" the grand steward quickly said. "No, I can't spare you from the mansion. The Silver Moon battle formation needs you to operate at its fullest potential. If you leave, it'll cut our combative power by at least half," the Wei family patriarch decisively said. "Maybe that's exactly why that person intentionally mentioned an heir and the others. They want to draw you out." Chapter 118. Madam and the others. "They can only rely on their fate," sighed the Wei family patriarch. "As members of the Wei family, we must always be prepared to sacrifice ourselves for the clan. If they truly cannot escape, then that is their destiny." The grand steward remained silent. He didn't quite understand why the master insisted on defending this ancestral home, preferring to die fighting rather than to retreat. But as a member of the Wei family, all his martial arts glory was given by the Wei family. Since the family head had ordered it, he would certainly obey until death. "Master, perhaps things are not as bad as they seem. The guard Pang Zhan, who is escorting Madame and the others, is also a strong martial artist of the internal organ realm. With his leadership and the Silver Moon Guards forming the Silver Moon battle formation, even if they encounter someone of great success in the internal organ realm, they should be able to hold them off. The royal capital has decreed that those in the innate realm should not attack those below innate. As long as the other side's innate does not act, perhaps Madame and the others still have a chance to escape." After a long silence, the grand steward spoke up to comfort him. "Now, we can only hope for this," the Wei family patriarch sighed. But he knew that this hope was likely very slim. Although the Silver Moon battle formation was formidable, the enemy was also numerous and had many strong individuals. Just the mysterious figure he had spoken with was already more than what Pang Zhan and the others could handle. Now, he could only pray that their pursuers did not include anyone above great success in the internal organ realm. Otherwise, he didn't dare to imagine the choices he would need to make. In an agonizing wait, the Wei family patriarch endured a tough night. The next day, when the same time arrived and there was no sign of any abnormalities outside the mansion, he breathed a sigh of relief. He presumed that perhaps they had not yet captured an heir and the others. Otherwise, given the arrogant demeanor of the mysterious strong individual yesterday, why would he miss such an opportunity to show off his power? Another day passed without any incident outside the mansion, allowing the Wei family patriarch's heart to settle substantially. It appeared his wife and son had really escaped. Even the grand steward greatly relaxed. The lady had once shown him great kindness, and now knowing that she and the son were probably safe, his anxious heart finally settled down. The forces within the county were also constantly watching the movements at Wei Mansion these 2 days. The conversation between the Wei family patriarch and that mysterious figure had echoed throughout the town. Everyone knew that someone was pursuing the Wei Mansion's lady and young master. Everyone speculated whether they would wake up one morning to see either the presence or corpses of the Wei Mansion's lady and young master. Unexpectedly, 2 days had passed without any sign. Even that mysterious figure had not reappeared. Could it be that the lady and young master of the Wei Mansion had actually escaped? Everyone couldn't help but entertain this thought. Ji Rue, tell me, did the lady and young master from Wei Mansion really escape successfully? Or have they been captured? Inside the county lord mansion, a handsome middle-aged man with phoenix eyes sat at a chess table, holding a chess piece, and asked the person sitting opposite him. You ask me? Even as the county lord, you don't know. How would I? The man in plain clothes opposite him responded indifferently. You are being too modest. Who doesn't know that the intelligence of Tianji Building is unmatched in this world? Nothing can escape your eyes. Compared to you, what significance does my little title of county lord have? The phoenix-eyed middle-aged man placed his chess piece on the board and laughed. Although Tianji Building has extensive intelligence, we never interfere in the conflicts between the families and sect forces. So, don't bother trying to gather information from me. The man in plain clothes remained calm and also made a move. If you don't interfere, then why are you here? The expression of the phoenix-eyed middle-aged man turned slightly solemn. He stopped playing and looked at the man in plain clothes. Rest assured, my being here has nothing to do with you, and I am not interested in your matters. The man in plain clothes remained expressionless. Oh, then what is the purpose of your visit? Upon hearing the other party's words, a slight relief washed over the middle-aged man with phoenix eyes, and a smile returned to his face. He knew that the man before him never liked to speak untruths, and since he declared it had nothing to do with him, it definitely must be unrelated. I'm here just to confirm one thing, said the man in plain clothes. There is a prohibition from Holy Mountain. All martial artists above innate must not attack those below innate without proper cause, and they absolutely must not battle in densely crowded areas, causing needless slaughter. My visit is to see if anyone dares to defy this prohibition. The middle-aged man with phoenix eyes grew solemn. The prohibition the man in plain clothes mentioned was not known by everyone. Only the true, great families and hidden sects were aware of this rule. However, this did not mean that the prohibition carried less weight. On the contrary, everyone who knew of this prohibition was well aware of how terrifying the power behind it was. It represented a mysterious authority that all forces in the world had to respect. So you're saying, this turmoil in the county, it really was instigated by someone from the innate realm? The middle-aged man with phoenix eyes asked tentatively. Yen Songhai, you don't need to play dumb here. The man in plain clothes said lightly. This obvious fact doesn't need to be feigned ignorance to insult our intelligence. Hee. Wasn't I just uncertain? After all, the traces of those in the innate realm are not something we folks in the postnatal realm can ascertain. The middle-aged man with phoenix eyes did not get angry. Instead, he became curious. Ji Rue, tell me, who wants to doom that old ancestor of the Wei family to death? And what treasure inside Wei Mansion could possibly tempt a mighty innate figure to stoop so low as to bully the younger generation? Aren't you afraid that they might hear you disparaging them? The man in plain clothes glanced at him. The middle-aged man with phoenix eyes stiffened, then relaxed again. Pretending to be nonchalant, he replied, "With you here, what do I have to fear? Could it be that such lofty innate beings would bother with a petty figure like me?" His words were light, but he dared not inquire further. "You should try changing this curious nature of yours. Had you not been so overly curious back then, you wouldn't have been demoted to this remote place to be a minor county lord." The man in plain clothes picked up a chess piece and placed it on the board. "Hee." The middle-aged man with phoenix eyes gave a forced laugh, not daring to speak further. If it weren't for the aid of the friend before him, he might not have even become the county lord. Nevertheless, his friend's words put his mind at ease. These days, saying his pressures weren't substantial would be a lie. Suddenly, so many martial artists had surged into the town, some possessing strength no less than his own. Should these people actually start a battle within the city, the civilian casualties would be unimaginable. If that were to happen, as the county lord, he could not escape responsibility. Now that his friend was here, whether or not he could stop the great battle was yet undecided. But at least, his friend could testify that it wasn't due to his inaction, but rather utter helplessness. The schemes of those in the innate realm were not something a small internal organ realm like himself could obstruct. The two quietly played chess for a while. Suddenly, the middle-aged man with phoenix eyes couldn't help but ask again, "Jirue, tell me, did that old ancestor of the Wei family in the innate realm really die?" The man in plain clothes looked up, staring at him quietly. Even though the gaze was not intense, the middle-aged man with phoenix eyes felt a chill straight from his heart. He hurriedly waved his hand. "Never mind, I really won't ask anymore." The man in plain clothes watched him for a while, making the middle-aged man tremble with fear. Then he suddenly spoke. "There is something I can tell you." "What is it?" the middle-aged man with phoenix eyes hurriedly asked. "The lady and the young master of the Wei family have not been captured yet."
Chapter 119. Un lucky Magu.
Magu felt incredibly unlucky. At this moment, he was lying flat in a pit in the forest, covered in mud, with a thick layer of fallen leaves above. At first glance, no one could tell there was a person hidden underneath. But Magu dared not be careless, because he knew the people pursuing him in the mountains were all martial arts experts, some of whom were no less skilled than him. A single misstep could lead to his discovery. Once surrounded, even if he was familiar with the area, escape would be impossible with wings. What on earth is going on? Thinking about his ordeal over the past 2 days, Magu couldn't help but complain bitterly. Lately, the situation in the county had been extremely tense, ready to explode at any moment. The Ma family, worried, had started to prepare for the worst by moving some of their assets to the state mansion. A few days ago, he had taken on a mission for the family to escort a batch of goods to the state mansion. After successfully delivering the goods and on his way back, he thought of visiting the big market to check on Xiao Tian and the others. He informed his fellow clansmen and left the group. Now thinking about it, Magu incredibly regretted his decision. He really wanted to slap himself, wondering why he had the stupid idea to go to the market. As a result, he had gotten himself into so much trouble. 2 days ago, after leaving the family group, he took a shortcut through the mountains on his way to the market. While passing through a mountain hollow, suddenly a group of men in silver armor charged out from the woods. These people, clad in silver armor and exuding an evil chi, formed a protective triangle around a woman and a young boy in the middle. The woman seemed injured and lethargic, unable to lift one arm. When Magu saw the young boy, he immediately sensed trouble, because he recognized the young boy and even the silver-armored guards. They were none other than young Master Wei and the Silver Moon Guards of the Wei family. Magu intended to avoid them, but it was too late. The very moment he saw these people, the young boy spotted him as well and immediately shouted, "Magu, what are you doing here?" With that shout, all of the silver-armored guards' attention was drawn to him. "Young master, who is this?" A silver-armored guard with a powerful presence asked sharply. "Guard Pang, This is Ma Gu of the Ma family. The last time I was injured, the mansion guard stayed temporarily in his house. The young boy replied. That's right, Captain. We indeed stayed in his house for a while. One of the silver-armored guards added. Oh! Guard Pang's gaze softened slightly, but the vigilance in his heart remained unchanged. It was too unusual for Ma Gu to appear here. If it weren't for the fact that Ma Gu's strength was inadequate and he was alone, he might have suspected that Ma Gu had been waiting for them intentionally. We've temporarily shaken off the people behind us. First, treat Mrs. Wei's injuries, Guard Pang ordered. A guard promptly took out antiseptic medicine and gave it to young Master Wei to apply to Mrs. Wei. Greetings to young Master Wei, Mrs. Wei. Since young Master Wei recognized him, Ma Gu had no choice but to brace himself and greet them. Although he didn't know why these people were here, considering the recent situation in the city and the blood-stained appearance of the Silver Moon Guards, it wasn't hard to imagine that he had seen something he shouldn't have. Could it be that fighting had finally broken out in the city? Was he going to be silenced? Ma Gu inwardly groaned with worry. But now, even if he wanted to run, he couldn't. Each of the Silver Moon Guards was stronger than him. There was no way he could escape. Ma Gu, how come you're here? Young Master Wei asked. I was just thinking of returning to the market, and I didn't expect to encounter young Master Wei here, Ma Gu replied truthfully. Just then, another noise came from the forest, and all the Silver Moon Guards tensed up. Captain, they've caught up with us? One of the Silver Moon Guards said. I know. The other side also has masters of the internal organ realm. With Mrs. Wei and young Master Wei, we won't be able to shake their pursuit, sighed Guard Pang. What should we do, Captain? They outnumber us, and our formation, though it may hold for a while, will be of no use in the end. Moreover, Mrs. Wei is injured. If we don't find a place to treat her soon, she might not last much longer, said an anxious Silver Moon Guard. How about you leave me behind and take an heir away? Mrs. Wei said palely. I am the mistress of Wei Mansion. They might want to capture me to coerce my husband, so they probably won't kill me right away. Mother! Young Master Wei immediately exclaimed. It's absolutely not an option, Mrs. Wei. Guard Pang quickly said. Protecting Mrs. Wei is our mission. Unless all of us Silver Moon Guards die, they won't lay a finger on her. But by keeping me with you, everyone will eventually die in these mountains. You can't let one person drag down everyone, Mrs. Wei asserted. There will find a way, Mrs. Wei. Don't worry. Guard Pang tried to comfort her. But as the noise from the forest behind them grew louder and louder, his gaze swept around. When he noticed Ma Gu, who was standing obediently to the side, an idea seemed to strike him. Young Master, can we trust this person? Asked Guard Pang. Young Master Wei paused, then replied, Ma Gu is a decent person. I was injured and unconscious before, and it was thanks to his suggestion that I survived. Guard Pang was not entirely satisfied with the answer, but he had no better idea. He gritted his teeth and said to Ma Gu, Brother Ma Gu, there's something I need to ask for your help with. Chapter 120. Ma Gu, who had always pretended to be honest, felt a sudden surge in his heart and forced a smile. What could it possibly be? Guard Pang spoke solemnly. I ask you to escort Mrs. Wei and young Master Wei to a safe place. Once the task is accomplished, the Wei family will surely reward you handsomely. Upon hearing this, everyone turned their gaze toward Guard Pang. Ma Gu, breaking out in a cold sweat, replied, Lord, you must be joking. Even you can't ensure their complete safety. How could I, a mere practitioner of the muscle-bone realm, possibly be capable of escorting Mrs. Wei and her son? Having heard the Silver Moon Guard's conversation earlier, Ma Gu knew someone was pursuing them from behind. He barely had time to escape, let alone dare to get involved in such a matter. You have no choice because those people are already nearby. With their capabilities, you won't make it out of these woods without our help. These people are merciless killers, and for them, killing you would be as easy as lifting a hand, Guard Pang declared.
Ma Gu es fa Stephen.
This was exactly what he feared. The pursuers who could drive a whole squad of the Silver Moon Guards into such disarray must be extraordinarily powerful. If he encountered them, he feared they would kill him without a second thought. In the county, Ma Gu had witnessed just how unreasonable those people could be. Now that they had left the constraints of the county, he feared they would be even more reckless. Lord, even if we have to split our forces and take Mrs. Wei and young Master Wei along a different path, wouldn't any of the Silver Moon Guard be more suitable than me? Ma Gu asked in confusion. If it were before, yes, but now it's not possible. Guard Pang shook his head. We have lost too many men earlier, and we can't spare any to protect Mrs. Wei. Thinking of this, Guard Pang felt a pang of pain. Had they not suffered heavy losses during the initial ambush, the Silver Moon Guard could have still formed the Silver Moon battle formation and spared some men. He would never have entrusted the safety of Mrs. Wei and young Master Wei to an outsider. Without the support of the Silver Moon battle formation and facing so many powerful enemies, they couldn't possibly delay for much time. Now, you only have a chance to escape if you agree to help and let us hold them off, Guard Pang said with a piercing gaze, looking directly into Ma Gu's eyes. Ma Gu, brother, what do you think? Ma Gu met his gaze for a while, then finally gave a bitter smile. Just as you said, Lord, I have no choice. Brother Ma Gu, then I entrust the safety of Mrs. Wei and young Master Wei to you. Upon hearing Ma Gu's agreement, Guard Pang suddenly knelt on one knee and pleaded. Captain, Guard Pang, the other Silver Moon Guards, as well as Mrs. Wei and her son, were all shocked to see Guard Pang kneeling. Ma Gu was even more deeply moved. A powerful practitioner of the internal organ realm was kneeling and pleading to him, a minor practitioner of the muscle bone realm, a scene he could never have even dreamed of. Looking at the entreating expression on Guard Pang's face, Ma Gu felt a surge of boldness rising within him. Don't worry, Lord Pang. Even if it costs me my life, I will ensure the safety of Mrs. Wei and her party. Thinking back on the lofty words he had spoken 2 days ago, Ma Gu, now stuck in a muddy pit, wished he could slap himself. Why did he have to act tough? Now he was probably really going to risk his life. That day, after he had agreed to escort Mrs. Wei and young Master Wei, that squad of Silver Moon Guards had taken the initiative to strike, forming a battle formation and entering the woods, turning the tables on their pursuers. Due to the commotion they caused, all the enemies in the woods were soon drawn there. Meanwhile, Ma Gu, carrying Mrs. Wei and leading young Master Wei, quietly moved in another direction. However, they hadn't gone far before he realized they were surrounded by enemy forces from the outside and couldn't escape. With no other choice, he changed direction and headed deeper into the mountains. Fortunately, during the years he had spent in the market, he often hunted nearby in his spare time and was quite familiar with the local geography. Thus, by taking advantage of the terrain, he was barely able to shake off their pursuers. But as a result, he and the others could only temporarily hide deep in the mountains, not daring to venture out. He had no idea what had ultimately happened to the squad of Silver Moon Guards. After a long wait in the pit, seeing that there was still no movement in the woods and the sky was gradually darkening, Ma Gu didn't spot any enemy, but instead saw a plump rabbit pass by in front of him. Hungry after 2 days, he couldn't resist. He sprang up, stunned the rabbit, and grabbed it. After catching the rabbit, he didn't linger any longer. After covering up the traces of the pit, he carried the rabbit and quietly proceeded in a certain direction. He stayed concealed all the way until he arrived in front of a hidden cave. Who's there? A vigilant voice came from inside. It's me. Ma Gu shook his head, feeling helpless at young Master Wei's reaction. If it had been an enemy, his single remark would have given away their position. But considering that the other was a pampered scion of the Wei family, he couldn't really say much. Ma Gu, you're back? Young Master Wei exclaimed with surprise as he emerged from the cave. Yeah, how is Mrs. Wei? Mother is still unconscious, and her forehead is very hot. Ma Gu, do you have any ideas? As he spoke, young Master Wei's face grew worried. I don't have a way. Ma Gu shook his head. Your mother's wound hasn't healed. She's lost a lot of blood. and has been infiltrated by external pathogens. It's similar to your condition before. I'm not a doctor. I can't heal her wounds.